Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Co-optional Podcast here on the 13th of March 2018 at the wrong time for at least a good 3/4 of the world for the next few weeks.
Yeah.
We apologize on behalf of Daylight Savings Time for existing. We still don't know why it does, but it does, and it constantly throws the show off a few times a year, so there you go.
It's super necessary because
reasons that existed 200 years ago that
Yes.
don't exist anymore.
The werewolves, particularly, specifically
it's very
them.
hard to change stuff like
Yes.
We are creatures of habit and we fear change, and this is why, even if it makes no sense whatsoever, we will stick to our guns.
That we will.
Welcome to humanity.
If anything, if you don't stick to your guns, then you're a damn flip-flopper. And that's not acceptable.
Yeah.
Especially with all the werewolves around. They don't respect that.
Jesse, what are you doing?
He's doing that's none of my business.
Yeah.
With a single extended pinky, or whatever it is. No, my. This episode of the Co-optional Podcast is proudly sponsored by Audible. Head on over to audible.com/cynical for your free audiobook. We'll have some recommendations for you a little later on in the show that demonstrate our wonderful palate when it comes to the consumption of audiobooks, our incredible taste, our amazing culture, those things. I'm not very convincing, am I?
Guys, it's just gonna be Star Wars. No, don't put.
Nah, there might be Warhammer as well.
I was gonna say, can I make a prediction that Jesse's book is Star Wars related?
Yeah, I think like for the next few episodes with those recommendations, it's gonna be Star Wars, Warhammer, and then Dodger brings an actual book to the table.
Don't put that on her either. Don't do that. Don't do that.
I normally try to bring an actual thing.
Give it a shot.
I want to listen to.
Nope.
Seems reasonable.
Trying.
There's at least, we have several pets actually in frame today on camera, which is always nice to see.
Too many.
Special day.
Yeah, there's a
What do you
dead
mean
rat in
too
the
many?
corner over there.
There is no such thing as too many pets. I keep trying to tell Chris this. Like,
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
I agree.
Oof.
It's a reasonable number of pets that we have here. I don't really see the problem with that.
It's.
There's 2 dogs and a cat. That is a normal amount of pets.
Yeah,
that's
reasonable.
Tell us how you really feel, Jesse.
And a frog squire.
Yeah.
One of those is useful. The other 3 just poop everywhere.
It's funny you should say that. I did pick up poop off the floor earlier. I was telling.
It's usually good to get that out of the shot before, we set everything up for the show.
Yeah.
Let's just say there's a reason why our cat has its own room, and we just, keep it out of the way over there.
Damn! Dude, that cat is living the high life.
It got banished.
Wait, are your cats those sort of cats that are just like, I'm gonna pee on this, and I'm gonna pee on this?
Thankfully not mostly
I had
anymore.
That.
So, yeah, that was a thing that happened for a while, and it sucked. That doesn't happen anymore, but...
I've never had a cat do that before.
Let's just say one of them has really bad aim.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Despite having a box with a lid.
Sherlock's
somehow
big enough that
inexplicably.
sometimes when he goes to poop, he just poops slightly outside of the box.
Yeah, pretty much.
It doesn't happen very often, but every now and then I'll go in there and be like, you missed.
Is that when like the butt is like kind of outside of the litter box?
Yeah.
Which
hanging
it
over
never
the edge
really
a
should
little bit?
be.
Nailed it, don't worry.
So I'm good. And then he goes to poop, and then he leaves, and I'm like,
One of them apparently just can't understand the concept of either turning around or reversing into the fucking thing. So it's just like, this'll do. It's like, no, it won't. It will not do. This is not okay.
Oh, look at her. in the
Cats suck,
background.
basically.
Oh,
That's a dog,
Are you looking
however, so that's
Are you
okay.
looking at my Duchess? This
Yeah.
Duchess. And this is Jeffrey.
they're both so cute.
One of those dogs got screwed. Out of a good... This is Duchess and this is Jeff.
Can you guess who named Duchess and who named Jeffrey out of Chris
Yes.
and myself?
I have some suspicions, let me put it that way.
You know, it's actually not as bad as it was going to be. His original name when Chris first decided he wanted him was going to be Lil Jeff. Not Little Jeff. Lil Jeff.
So
Right,
it's
yeah.
rap name. It has
Yeah.
a rap name. Why would it have a rap name? What use is that?
I don't know. Chris fancies himself some kind of British Eminem. It's
No.
don't ask. Don't
No,
ask.
he has no street
I'm
cred
sorry,
of
what?
any sort.
What was that?
I'm not kidding. He thinks he's like a lyricist, and it's all behind closed doors. This is the true story of what exists behind, like, at when the stream is off, he sits there listening to rap and like typing out the like, oh, this is very insightful, and he'll type to me what he just
This is
heard.
very insightful. Yo, 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 get money, bitches. Yeah. I can see the philosophical spin on that.
Yeah, I get it though. I understand what he's saying.
Yeah,
Like, it
sometimes
makes
you
sense
just
to
need,
me.
Like the backup, right? You need somebody to say,
It's a fairly solid, if straightforward plan.
Get
I'm not
money,
sure if
and
there's
then
any
have
nuance
it
to
saying,
it,
yo,
really.
yo, yo, to get your attention. Like, this is important. Yo, yo, yo.
he says it 3 times because you're such good friends and he wants to make sure you're listening.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
He's telling
Get
you a
money and
story. You need
bitches.
to hear.
Do you want to miss out on this incredible business opportunity?
Of getting bitches.
Yeah.
Yeah. Indeed.
And money.
It's a multi-level marketing scheme
Yes.
involving bitches. That's
Yeah.
just how it is.
And money. That's multi-level. That's like that 3D chess in Star Trek. That's intricate.
I don't know how anyone ever plays that. People actually play that. Like,
Yeah.
if-
There is a set with an actual set of rules. I can't imagine.
Yeah,
It's like,
that's
what the
not
2D
fun.
one is hard enough. Why do you need to fuck with it?
That's true.
It's like, oh, this shit's too
Very true.
easy for us in the 23rd century. It's like, oh, okay, that's very nice.
Once we've figured out actual magic and you can give me wizard chess, I'll play that. I'm not gonna play
What?
Wizard chess, battle
wizard
chess.
chess.
I
from
understand.
Harry
I
Potter.
understand. It's the
Battle
first part. It's the first
chess
part.
as it-
Once we
it-
figured out magic part that I'm
Yeah.
a little worried about. Once we figure out
Yeah.
magic. Oh, okay.
Once we figure out actual magic.
Yeah, we just need to crack alchemy. It's fine. Don't worry about
It
it.
does
Yeah.
seem like, there's a few steps to this plan that would be a little tricky.
Once we unlock the secrets of the Philosopher's Stone,
Yeah, we'll be
then
fine.
all
Okay.
right. Okay,
Yeah.
you're right. I'm so
Fair
stupid.
enough.
For this plan. I
Welcome to
know.
the Corruptional Podcast. We do occasionally talk about video games. Coming up in the show, we'll talk about the games we've been playing this week. A little roundup of the news, what there is of it, and of course, our usual review of the upcoming releases of the week, of which there are quite literally hundreds. We skip through them and try and find ones that don't suck. I imagine, for instance, that not included in that list will be Chocolate Makes You Happy 4.
I don't
which
know.
is coming out on
I
March
don't
the
know.
14th.
Just on that though, how is it that this is number 4? Right? There had to have been 1, 2, and 3, and still enough
Presumably.
content to make a 4th.
Presumably, yes. As to whether or not, one has to wonder. No, they definitely did actually make that many. Yep, okay. Fair enough.
if they
I was
just-
just double checking that, just making sure.
I mean, it's actually got to be like, profitable enough that he could keep going with the whole series, turn it into a franchise.
Or it's just some giant money laundering scheme. Who knows at this point?
more likely.
Who knows? All right, let's talk about some games we've been playing this week. Who wants to start? Who wants to toss a hat in the ring?
Yo, since we were just mentioning alchemy, can I start?
Yeah, let's go.
Okay, so I played a game.
Weird segue.
I played a fucking game called My Lovely Daughter. I played the whole goddamn thing.
What? Oh, is this the game where we thought it was about banging your daughter?
No.
I would hope not.
That's why I didn't play it. I was like, I'm gonna pass on this one.
That sounds like I mean, to be fair, considering what pops up on Steam on a weekly basis, that assumption might
If you clicked
have
on it,
been
you
a
would have no reason
justifiably
to believe
cautious
you banged
one,
your
but-
daughter in this game. So the concept of My Lovely Daughter is you are an alchemist who wakes up and has lost a chunk of memory. You don't know why you're in this house. You don't know what's going on. You're looking for your wife. You can't find your wife. You're walking all over this house. And in one of the rooms, you find a girl who looks very much like your daughter, but older. And so you're like, oh my God, something happened. You find sort of like a preserved soul and determine, this is my daughter's soul. That's why her body's still here. This is my daughter's soul. And if I infuse it with enough power, because I'm an alchemist, if I infuse it with enough power, I can bring her back. And like I don't know where my wife is, but I do know where my daughter is.
In so many different stories. That plan is always
right? I was like, this is going to work out perfectly.
What could possibly go wrong?
So the entire game is about you making homunculi. A homunculus is basically like a living entity that you make with alchemy, right? So the entire game is you making tons of homunculus daughters. They're always like little girl versions of different types of homunculus, like around the age that your daughter is. And you have to give them some kind of joy in life, or like give them a reason to live, so that you can kill them and then put their life energy into your daughter's soul to bring her back. So the entire game is this super fucked up cycle, and it does get a little repetitive. It's this super fucked up cycle where you're just making all kinds of different tree girls, you're making ice girls, all kinds of shit. You send them off to like meet people in town, you spend time with them, you give them gifts, and then you kill them. And every time you kill them in the most brutal way possible. So for example, like you make a stone girl, the way that he decides, I need to kill this girl, so the way I'm going to do it is I'm going to throw her in the water because she'll never get out.
Right.
Like, what the fuck?
I don't know how sane the developers of this game were.
One of these days, we're going to have a show where we just talk about normal games instead of this fucked up shit that we seem to find every single week.
Can I just hold on?
Yes.
Please continue, Dodger. Please continue. I'll be back with you in 1 second. I just need to go find a tweet really quick.
You need to find a tweet?
Yes, one of your tweets.
I also highly recommend people actually Google the word homunculus, because I had to. I am not a person who knows what a homunculus is.
This is a little demon thing, right?
Yeah, it was kind of creepy.
Yeah.
It's like, you use like different things to create like your own magic plus elemental things to create. Yeah.
Can you really quickly, just one more time, really quickly, in 30 seconds, can you sum up this game one more time? What do you do in this game?
You create homunculus daughters and you murder them. Was that quick enough?
March 10th, Jesse Cox. Played the game Chuchel for Fan Friday. It was great. March 10th, Dodger. This game is so fucking weird, my dude.
Yeah, Chuchel, as in that adorable little game from Aminata, and that's fucked up and weird, but this seems entirely reasonable.
Sure. No, that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah.
That's fair. That's a fair call out.
Yes. I am right. Well, I have to admit, I'm curious about Chuchel. If you played that one,
Wait,
Jesse.
let me finish though.
What else
I
is
want
there
to
to
hear the
say
rest
about
of
this? No
is
one else is
insane.
going to play this stupid game.
I might play it now. It sounds crazy.
I just
If
want to.
there's one thing what was that game that you played, Dodger, with the popsicle?
Oh,
You know what I
shit.
mean.
I do know what you mean.
whatever.
Yeah, the one where you're just like slowly. There's like a dude's face.
Oh yeah, let's
and
not do
like,
we're gonna avoid the movements.
This
But
one.
what I'm saying though is that like if there's one person I know who can tell a video game description, no matter how weird it gets, and actually have a whole bunch of people go and try it out, it's you.
Thank you.
So, yeah.
No, I just rather than just leaving it at here's the description and then not giving any follow up, because that's not what we do on this show, TotalBiscuit. I just wanted to say
We do that all the time.
we're not supposed to. This is a
No.
show where we discuss how we felt about the game.
But none of us played it other than you.
information.
I'll allow it just because Jesse's now expressed an interest and intent to actually play it.
So, the way that they handle his amnesia is super spotty. The gameplay itself is like pretty repetitive, and at the end it's a weird like guessing game because you have to determine exact ratios in order to bring your daughter back to life correctly. So it does like get a little bit
of body, you mean?
Proportion of emotional attributes that should be inside of her soul. So it gets a little bit tedious, I guess, at the end. But it's if you want to go on a wild fucking ride, it's worth it to finish it. That's all that I'll say. So yeah, My Lovely Daughter. I also apparently accidentally clickbaited the shit out of everybody because I was like, we're playing My Lovely Daughter. And then a bunch of people showed up and were like, your daughter's here? You had a baby? Is the baby here? And I was like, if the baby was here, I would not be streaming.
Streaming? No, that seems unlikely. That's not how that works.
Also, like, the wording of that phrase, we're playing my lovely daughter, like, oh, you got played, punk, baby! Like, I don't know what do they expect that stream to be about?
We're pranking our newborn. It's the new thing on YouTube.
It's about My Lovely Daughter, Jesse.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Maybe it's just a word was missing there. I'm playing with my lovely daughter.
Even more clickbaity.
Yeah. That is a way to get a lot of viewers.
It's true.
Yeah.
Jesse, do you want to talk about Chuchel, that fucking weird game?
I
really weird
don't know
one
why
by
you call it weird. I can't figure it out. It's silly and like super cute. You play as a little tiny you look kind of like one of the, are they dust bunnies? Whatever the hell they're called in Final Fantasy 14.
Yeah.
Those little you look like one of those guys, and except you have an acorn cap, and along comes a giant hand, I assume of a gorilla, who knows, the hand of fate, we'll say, who takes the one thing you love in life, cherries. Already I relate to this guy. He and I are on the same page. So he takes a cherry from you, and then you go through a point-and-click adventure to get your cherry back, but you never do. And you meet along the way a little tiny, like, spiky dog and a bunch of weird characters, like a half a banana that you fly on, and a bunch of, like, weird wormy dudes. And, like, it's a silly game. It makes no sense. It is just funny and weird and quirky and, like, super cute. And I love every bit of it. Like, it doesn't make any sense, but it's simple enough that it doesn't need to, because it's like, oh, I understand. Like, he just wants his cherry back.
Yeah,
that's all he wants.
It's like all the stuff that Aminata does is like, there's no speech. It's like, it's very easy to understand because you can clearly see what's happening.
Yeah, and they took a lot of time adding fun things, like as you saw there. I think this is the trailer.
Yeah, it is.
There's one area where in order to get past the point and click part of it, you literally have to go inside of a snail, because the snail inside of his shell is a bunch of mini games, and you have to play Tetris, except you are Chuchel's on the Tetris board as the pieces are dropping. So you have to like dodge the pieces. There's one where you have to do Pac-Man, except you have to eat the Pac-Man, which is amazing. And, but they have to turn Pac-Man pellets into cherries in order for you to eat them, because you don't like Pac-Man pellets. And then I think the other one is Space Invaders. And you bounce on springs to blow up the guys, but you can only do it when you're their color. It's great. I don't understand. Dodger, you break my heart. My heart broke when you were like, this game's dumb and you're stupid. And I hate you.
Her tastes have turned super edgy lately. That's why. It's got to be that.
So for me, I love Machinarium so much, because like they spent a lot of time to create a really interesting world, and there's lots of really cool music and stuff in it. I didn't enjoy the sound design in Chuchel at all. I was sad that it was that like every screen is so just like, I don't know, it's like too simple. I don't know. It just wasn't interesting. It was just like, it was just like strange creatures in a negative space with sound design that I didn't like. And so I played like 20 minutes of it and I was like, well, I'm done.
I feel like this is an art thing, right? Like people are going to, like, you like what you like. And in this, like I agree, Botanicula and Machinarium and all those games, I love those as well. And I think it just comes down to the fact that like I'm a sucker for point and clicks, but like this for me was like silly character. Every voice was like the sound design
kind of reminds me of Pingu.
The sound design I liked because it related to the level. Like one area you meet a giant like Bigfoot guy, and he's sitting there listening to 8 little, I think, worms, I don't know what they're supposed to be, singing, and the whole level is about shutting them up. So you have to get them to stop singing, but as you sort of shut them down, parts of the song stop, and I was like, I like this stuff. This is nice. It's about sort of what is happening in the world. And yeah, I think the negative space and not having anything in the background is kind of jarring if you're like, what's happening in this world? What is the context? But from minute 1, when you load the game up, there is no title screen. You are literally just on a screen with Chuchel sleeping and then all these things around him. And when you go to look at instructions, there's no English, there's no words, you are not told how to play.
There never is in Aminata's games, are there? It's always clean like that.
Yeah.
Not to use like a dumb theater term, but playing this game felt very Brechtian. Like they would give you the title screen multiple times.
It was all like I thought
mean?
that was supposed to be like episodic. Like every time that came up, it was one of those things like, who could it be but Chuchel? Like that's kind of what it was. Every time you solve something.
I hated that.
I loved it. I loved that.
There's a lot of innocent murder in this game for Dodger anymore.
Where are my daughters to kill?
It's like, well, if I can't create facsimiles of my daughter in order to murder them in very specific ways, then what's the fucking point?
Come on, man.
Damn.
Yeah. But I can understand an art critique. I just think it's weird, but not like, for me, there's 2 types of weird. There's super cute weird, and then there's like, oh, this is uncomfortable weird. And I feel like this got the super cute weird vibe down. And it's kind of like when dealing with crazy. There's fun crazy, and then there's oh no crazy. And this is kind of what this is like. But I can understand everyone's line of what is like okay with them is different. So I don't hold it against you, but I was heartbroken when you were like, I do not like this game. And I was like,
I didn't say any of that. I just said it was weird.
I saw your tweet. You were like, and Jesse, you're wrong and stupid, and I hate you. And it was all tears. All tears. It happened.
Okay, you know what? You're right.
Yeah, I
it was
saw
on Twitter. It was aggressive.
That's exactly what happened.
Yep.
Shannon, what have you been playing? And also, who are you and what do you do?
Yes, Chad is curious. We never got into that because somehow we mostly complained about cats for 10 minutes.
That's true, we did. Who am I? Well, I am a lot of formers. I'm a former Twitch employee. I am also a former game producer for in like a little studio in London called Improbable. I also am a former content creator, I guess I would say, because I haven't actually streamed in a couple of years. So but with all of that said, I have sort of weird presence, I guess, as a business manager for Sacriel, who is one of the larger channels in the UK. And,
he's all right.
Yeah, he's okay. You know, I guess. He puts the cereal in the fridge, so that's a little weird. But yeah,
but like cute weird, right? Right? See?
Yes, cute.
There's
weird.
like
not the weird, not the.
Oh,
crazy.
not like
No,
put the cereal in the fridge. Yeah.
Doesn't like the cereal on fire, so that's good.
Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, so that's me, and you might have seen ranty tweets from me on Twitter, maybe that kind of thing, you know.
Occasionally complaining about Twitch.
Yeah, I'm an overbearing parent with just fur babies as children, so that's sort of who I am. And what have I been playing? I actually I reinstalled Rimworld. So I saw, obviously Chris was playing Rimworld. So obviously, anytime he plays a single player game, I immediately want to play it. And so I reinstalled Rimworld. I spent about 40 hours over the weekend playing it. And I'm really hooked on that right now, but I actually really want to play Surviving Mars. I've watched
I
him
was
play
playing
quite
that
a bit
this
of
week.
it looks really good. And I think like the week before that, I was playing a lot of Rise and Fall Civ 6. So,
Yes.
which I think is a wonderful expansion.
Great
by the
game.
way.
Great game.
Yep, it was a perfect addition. Can't ask for more. It added just enough to make me want to, get back into it for another 50 hours, So, yeah, I thought it was lovely.
You Civ people.
On the subject of surviving Mars, yeah, I did notice there was a bit of similarity between certain parts of Rimworld and surviving Mars, but they're definitely not by any means the same game.
No.
I played a bunch of surviving Mars yesterday, and I get less of the surviving Mars vibe because I get the impression they already know how to do that. Like they've got that pretty much figured out. They start off by not sending any people; they just send drones, which is sensible. And then they prepare the habitation and everything and the infrastructure to make sure that when your colonists arrive, they don't all just die. And then the colonists go into the dome and do their thing, and everything seems okay. And then you build more domes, and the actual survival part of Mars hasn't kicked in yet. Like, nothing dangerous has actually happened. I think the worst I ever got was a leak in one of the water pipes.
Oh, so you haven't had like I don't know if this is spoilers or not, but you haven't had like the tornado go through your base or anything
No,
like that?
I haven't had anything completely wreck my base yet. I know there are things like dust storms, cold waves, that kind of thing. I had a meteor land, but it didn't hit anything. So outside of my metal factory breaking down at one point and me realizing I don't actually have the parts to fix this, because I have no means to manufacture them on Earth, on Mars, so I have to send a rocket from Earth with some parts. That was about the biggest threat that my colony has had so far, anyway. It's felt more like a colony city builder sim so far than anything like
Sorry,
survival.
when you started, did you press the easy start button?
No.
Damn.
Okay.
I just went with the regular, but they give you that choice of corporation to start with, and the starter corporations seem like they give you a lot of leeway, and they probably turn the hazards down to low and all that kind of thing. So, if you were to pick one of the much harder corporations, like, I don't know, Paradox, the actual games publisher funding your trip to Mars, you get like one rocket and $5.50. To build your base with or whatever. Whereas with the International Mars mission, you get like $30 billion and all the rockets you could ever need and all that kind of shit. So there's probably an element of that. Yes.
Yeah. One thing I liked, as I haven't played it myself, because obviously it's not out until 2 days from now.
Indeed.
But like I said, I was watching ShannonZKiller play it a lot, and one thing I really loved was all of the references to like sci-fi books and movies and shows and things like that. So,
There's a lot of that.
the Terry Pratchett quotes and Elon Musk references, and I think that they have one of the logos of the things you can put on the rocket is the "Don't Panic" symbol, which.
There's another one that's like Planet Express and stuff like that. I'm pretty sure you put your own logos on it and everything.
Yeah.
It's it's pretty cool. I mean, as a city builder, it seems pretty neat. Like, you've got to play a bit of Tetris basically with your domes because they're very small. So you have to be very careful about what you fit in them, particularly when you have the basic starting tiny dome.
Oh, it looks like the art is pretty simple, huh?
Yeah. Very much so. It's quite clean, which is good.
Yeah.
Because you can actually see what the hell's going on.
I was gonna say you can actually see what the fuck you've got.
Yeah. That's
the
always
one
nice.
concern I had with it was I don't think it's hit this yet, so this is just like a phantom concern, but I was worried that it was going to feel a lot like Skylines, where you sort of play 40, 50 hours, and then all of a sudden you kind of like hit like there's nothing else
There's
to
nothing
really
to do. Yes, I've done everything, and this game's easy kind of thing. Yeah.
So, and I don't think that like the games that I've seen played so far, I don't think that there's that really as a concern. I mean, even after 20 hours in the same round, ShannonZKiller hadn't even unlocked everything in the research tree.
There's a shit ton in that
encouraging.
research tree. It takes quite a while to get through it.
Yeah.
It does seem like there's a lot more to it. than, as you said, it just being cities skylines on Mars, which thankfully it doesn't seem to be. It'll be interesting to see the further along I go whether or not I end up running into problems. Like, because right now it reminds me a lot of Planet Base, which was honestly a game that I did 1 or 2 playthroughs of, had essentially solved, and not, never really run into a massive problem in that game. It's like, oh, well, every threat that could come at me, I now have everything I need to deal with it. So this will never cause me problems. So I'm basically done now. Like, there's nothing else to do in the game. I'm hoping that it won't go too far down that route. I think a lot of it will be start on, maybe tweak your difficulty a little bit, because the starting difficulty might be a little too low, perhaps.
Yeah.
So
it sounds
see.
like it was for you, at least. I mean, like I said, I think Chris might just be cursed with bad, like, RNG god.
Perhaps.
Like maybe they hate him because he had all sorts of natural disasters happening and random things.
I had basically nothing.
Separate his batteries, because if your batteries are all clumped together and then something hits that, like a dust storm or whatever, hits or a meteor, then you have no electricity, and then you can't power anything, and then you die. So
I had the power go off once in my dome because I'd sort of underestimated or overestimated the amount of power production I had. But then it's like, oh, well, I'll just slap down 2 more wind turbines and I'll put a battery over here so that if that happens again, I'll have enough stored energy for it not to happen again. And I did that, and it was fine. So, and it never happened again. But it's like, oh, yeah, your guys might be dying a bit of hypothermia, maybe get your power back on. But the thing is, you could turn off any building you've got. So at that point, I was like, oh, I actually only just need to turn this factory off for a little bit, and that'll give them enough power to get through this, so I can fix up my solar panel or whatever. But yeah, it's not a bad little city builder, I'll say that. There seems like there's a lot going on with it, especially in that research tree.
What did you think of
crazy stuff.
The micromanagement, though? Because I felt like watching it, it seemed like it was a bit janky with how you had to micromanage the actual,
the civilians,
like, sort of the minor level rather than managing processes. You're just
I found, honestly, that the putting the specific specialized civilians at the specific places is something the game does pretty well automatically. And if you don't do it, it doesn't actually make that much of a difference. Because if you look at the overall effectiveness score of your workforce, even if they are like, we're the wrong specialization and I'm drunk, it's still fine. Like, they still seem to be completely capable of producing enough goods. I don't know. Again, that could be another thing where you got to be at a much harder difficulty, and they'll say, right, you need to start really min-maxing where your colonists go. But I didn't find that. I just found that, like, most of them go to the optimal place they're in, and they should be. And then there'll be a few maybe that you have to move around if you want to. But they'll work wherever. They don't seem to care. I haven't had any of them get upset that I put like an award-winning geologist in the game store or whatever. They seem just fine with that.
Can we actually talk about the colonists for a second? Because I feel like their traits were kind of ridiculous. Like, I mean, it makes sense in Rimworld. Like, I don't mean to compare them, but with Rimworld,
there's a definite comparison to be made with the traits. They're very similar.
Yeah. But with Rimworld, it's like, oh, you have a sociopath who's a workaholic, so it makes sense that they would avoid people and just work a lot. But they're also close to snapping all the time, and they kind of do the same thing in Surviving Mars. But it also feels a bit like it's a bit different because with Rimworld, they crash landed on the planet.
Yeah.
And so it's
why would this person be eligible at all for a Mars mission?
Yeah, like, and so, like, you get people from the tribes in Rimworld, so of course they're going to be weird. But, like, I literally saw the character trait in Surviving Mars of a lazy hippie who doesn't like to work. And I was just thinking, how did you get approved for this mission? Yeah,
it's like there's crazy people that would never, ever get to go.
Yeah.
Because it's not like they give you a big choice of it. Yeah, they weirdly, they automatically, it's like a non-issue anyway. I imagine it will become an issue later when maybe you start to run out of candidates, but initially it deselects everybody that has a negative personality quirk. So you won't even get them on your colony. So it's completely irrelevant.
Right,
maybe
yeah.
later they'll say, well, you have to have, you've got to let them on, but surely later there'd be more people sign up to go to Mars that aren't
Yeah.
shit.
Yeah, we're scraping
So-
the bottom of the barrel here, so
Yeah, it's
sorry.
like we've
you're
ran
just
out.
gonna get
Sorry,
this,
there's only
like,
200
one guy.
people on the entirety of Earth that are willing to go to Mars.
Yeah.
And, there's 30 of them are vegans. We can't let them go. So, we'll just have to take the lazy psychopathic hippies or whatever. I don't
Yeah.
quite understand that. It does seem like they put that in there because Rimworld has it. But in the context of surviving Mars, which is, as you said, a much more official kind of thing,
Yeah, definitely.
that would there's no way those people would be within 100 miles of a Mars mission. Like, no way.
Yeah.
That's just not going to happen. So it doesn't make that much sense in that context.
Yeah.
But, of course, it's got to come out right out the gate with modding. So the first thing that will happen is they'll probably mod all that shit out and make a little more sense.
Yeah, and maybe tweak the micromanagement a little bit, make it a little smoother, things like that. Like,
Yeah.
I love it when games offer modding right out the gate, because it just means that, like, it's going to be a game that doesn't die, because
Yes.
the community is just going to hype over it and then keep it alive for like years to come, which is great. I also really liked how they had celebrities that kind of come in.
Yeah,
on
I've got
the
one of those.
ships. Yeah, and they can get like sponsorships. I was just thinking like, oh,
Yeah, you get a bit of extra cash if you have
YouTubers
a...
might take over.
Pretty much. I've got a celebrity medic, and they give me extra money because she's there. So I'm like, okay, sure, that's fine. Just
Great.
make me a little bit of extra cash so that I can buy the things that I keep forgetting to actually manufacture myself. And it's like in my wonderfully efficient, self-sustaining colony, which isn't. But I don't know. It's good. It's a fun game. I sunk a good 6-7 hours into it yesterday. I was like, yeah, this is good. I can see this being a fun city builder. But yeah, maybe I start again and crank the difficulty up a bit. Or maybe I just get lucky up until a certain point and then the game decides to fucking murder me. That's also possible. So we'll see.
Yeah, it's usually right when you have everything set up to be perfect and you're
Yep.
like, yes, this is
Everything
functioning
is
like a
working
well-oiled
wonderfully.
machine. And then poof,
That's what it all
done.
falls apart. Always in those games.
It's like
yeah.
a rocket full of precious metals ready to go back to Earth, and then it gets hit by a meteor on the way up. Like, all that
Yep.
kind of bullshit or whatever. Yeah, we'll see. But it's fun. As a city builder anyway. As a survival game, Rimworld is probably what you want to be looking at the moment, rather than this.
Rimworld could be literally thousands of hours. Again, it has modding. And there are so many good mods out there for it. I haven't scraped at all any of the most popular mods. I haven't even begun with them. So I could have Rimworld not installed from my computer for the next 5 years and still find new content on it. So
God, Rimworld is so depressing.
it's a little bit masochistic, I'm not gonna lie.
Dude,
Yeah.
every time I've tried to play that game, I'm like, why does shit go so wrong?
That's
it
the
yeah,
goes
fun
a little wrong,
part
it
of
just
it.
goes super wrong immediately.
Like a turtle has gone mad and has just now made your surgeon blind. Like,
Yeah.
oh, awesome, great.
Losing
you
is
know,
fun.
look at that.
Is that's that game in particular.
Strongly disagree.
No, that's the fun part. Just managing everything going to hell.
Shannon, have you played Subnautica?
I played it really early on, like way back in early beta.
Yeah.
I did not play it at full launch. I instead watched Chris play the whole thing and scream like a little baby, because he's actually got I forget what the phobia is called. He's got a fear of the deep and
like deep sea. Yeah.
yeah. So
Why the
With
fuck
good
would you
reason.
go and play that then?
With good reason.
because he was trying to get over it. Actually, it really helped him. He was saying that he actually now wants to go to like a beach and go in the water, and so I think
I'm
it
not sure a
actually has-
beach is the same as the deep sea.
No,
with
it's not.
filled
He's
with
definitely
monsters
nowhere
and
going
horrible
nowhere
things.
near the deep sea. Yeah,
But well done. He's going to the beach though. That's good.
it's a step forward.
It is a
for
small
him.
step, but a step.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been watching Kraken play it, and
Okay.
I've been watching Sam play it. And Kraken is like very scared of like stuff in the ocean.
Is Sam
Um,
too? I'm pretty sure Sam's mentioned that before.
Sam is not at all. So the
Okay.
difference in their streams is fucking hilarious, because I'll watch Kraken stream, and literally the whole time I'm watching Kraken stream, I'm like, oh, this sweet boy. Because Chad will be like, oh, you need to go however far that way in order to get the part that you need, and it just gets darker and darker and
then
darker.
he's like, nope, and then he reverses.
Yeah, he has a couple of friends that he'll like call up and be like, will you talk to me while I'm going into this area? And I'm like, oh, Kraken. So like he won't even get attacked by something, right? He'll like see it and be like, I can't, and move away and just be like, I can't play this.
How do you fight things that attack you in that game?
Huh?
Can you fight things that attack you?
Yes. So Kraken will see some of these things and be like, I'm fucking never going over there again. Like, that's terrifying. And then I'll watch Sam's stream where he's like, what the fuck is that? And he like gets out of his super safe tube and like swims over to it and tries to scan it and like stab it. And it's just like, the difference is hilarious.
Wow.
So, yeah.
What is Sam afraid of if not big, scary, 100-foot long monsters?
I'm not revealing his secrets on this podcast.
All right.
But
spiders. It's spiders. The answer's
fair enough. Yeah.
But yeah, so it's been really fun to watch people play that game. It makes me want to play it, and at the same time I'm like, but am I too much of a baby? I'm not scared of water. I'm just like, I'm scared of being spooked by things. I just don't want to play a game and be having like a perfectly fine time just like enjoying the water and then have something attack me and be like, I don't want to do this anymore.
I think that game does fear really well because it doesn't really utilize jump scares. Like it builds things up, right? So you'll start to see the light go out of the ocean, and then you'll start to hear slow sounds like grow into a loud growl. Like it's all very gradual, and so I think that it's so well done. Why?
It sucks. I'll never play that game. It's weird.
No. You're missing
Never
out.
gonna happen. Never gonna play it. Really no, I'm not.
He's terrified of sharks and things of the deep.
I am not missing out. I am the only thing. I'm getting more sleep. I'm gonna not have terrible dreams.
That's
great.
The point. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. So I was just curious because I know that sometimes you go super ham on survival games. So.
Oh, I do, and I do love watching it. Like I could watch more people play it, but I think for me, I kind of draw the line at being afraid as well in pitch black. For me, it's not about the ocean. It's just about the fact that I can't see anything.
Yeah.
So, and I can't kill things that are 100 feet long.
Yeah. When people talk about playing that game in VR, like the Deep Blue experience that came out through VR, that was like 3 different levels of water.
Yeah.
I could not do the one where you're in pitch black. And Sam was just like, I can't see anything. I was like,
okay.
Like,
so
they gave me a flashlight, but I can't see anything. And I was like, how are you not
with the teeth? Like when you see the teeth, come on. That's poop your pants time. That's what that is. I couldn't do that final level for that reason. I let my best friend do it, and I let Chris do it. And I was like, no. See, I'm just gonna watch you guys play it, and I'm just gonna be right over here sipping my coffee. It's all good.
I was disappointed in myself because they do like reward you for sticking with it, and you see like all of these beautiful lights and things eventually. But I was just like, get it. Like once I'm in VR, it's too real. It's too much. Yeah.
Nope.
So.
I'm in two minds about it, honestly. I don't know if I've got the time to invest. It seems like you need to put quite a bit of time into that game to really get anything out of it.
In Subnautica?
Yeah.
Yeah,
so
it is
maybe
like
not.
100-hour kind of experience.
Yeah, I'm not looking for that.
I think that's great,
not.
though. The fact that it's like, it's the one price tag, and then you get like 3 digits worth of experience out of it, like in terms of hours.
Oh, it's a good value buy, assuming that people like, what the loop of what you're required to do.
Yeah, that's true.
Cool.
It seems like it's very story based, so it doesn't seem like it gets too like stuck in its own pattern. Yeah.
If you're tired of exploring and collecting and doing the normal survival stuff like gathering items and building out your base and all that kind of stuff, and then maybe even building other bases elsewhere, like if you're and doing the research tree, like it does have a lot of aspects to it. It's a very in-depth kind of experience. And but if you get done all that,
sorry, best I could do. I couldn't let that one lie.
Was that a deep sea joke?
It was good, yeah. It was. I was thinking,
Got it.
I should grab at that. No one's going for that one. Nobody's picking that up. No, okay.
I didn't even know I made it.
You went for it, so
someone had to, so no one was allowed to drop that one.
But no, what I was gonna say is, then if you get tired of all that, you can go back and do the story, and you can just progress that way.
Yeah, it's good. It's got that option. All right, Subnautica then was that. I think it might be time to talk a little bit about today's sponsor, Audible. Audible.com/cynical is the place to go if you'd like to get yourself a free audiobook, and free is always good. Alternatively, you could text cynical to 500-500. If you happen to be in the United States, that's all you need to do. Text cynical to 500-500. If you wish to get in on this particular offer, we do have a few recommendations for you, and some of them I think will be quite predictable. It's like, I recommend Warhammer, and Jesse recommends Star Wars, and then we get a sensible book from Dodger. But I realized I have not yet recommended the best Warhammer 40,000 book that has ever been written by anybody. Anyone that has a passing interest in Warhammer 40,000, especially if they want it to be read by somebody who is very, very good at narrating Warhammer 40,000, in this case, Toby Longworth, who is fantastic at it. And that is Eisenhorn Book 1, Xenos, which is, I think the best way to describe it is a sort of Sherlock Holmes in space sort of setup, which doesn't really require a huge amount of knowledge of the 40k universe to actually enjoy it as a story. That's the nice little caveat about that one. There's a lot of Warhammer 40,000 stuff, and it's very, very good when it comes to the audiobook format. You know, good sound effects, generally very atmospheric, sounds great, and usually has a bunch of great narrators as well. But it requires quite a lot of knowledge of the 40k universe to get anything out of. Not the case with this, I would say. Very relatable story regardless. You don't have to know much about the 40k universe, and it's actually quite a good way to learn a bit about it if you are looking to get into it. So that'll be my recommendation, Xenos, and of course the other two books in the series, if you like them, are Malleus and Hereticus, which is book 2 and 3 of the Eisenhorn trilogy, and there's a new one coming very, very soon, I believe. All right. Let's have the sensible pick. Dodger, your pick for an audiobook of the month.
A Wrinkle in Time.
A Wrinkle in Time.
Yeah, if you're like me and the movie is coming out, and when you watch the trailer, you're like, Jesus Christ, what the fuck is this book about again? I loved this book when I was younger, and watching the trailer made me go, fuck, I need to reread this book, I think. Everybody has said the movie's fantastic, so I'm excited to watch that. But I figured maybe it's time to go back and read Wrinkle in Time. But they've got it narrated by Hope Davis, who is an actress, and all of the reviews are like, she does a great job of reading it, or narrating it. And they've got a couple other people listed as narration voices, maybe for specific characters, which would be cool. So yeah, that's probably what I'm gonna dive into.
Yeah, seeing the 8,000 ratings, an average of 4.4. That's not too bad.
Yeah.
Yep, they seem to like that one.
I want to read that, actually.
So there's Dodger's recommendation. And Jesse, from a certain point of view is the name of this particular book.
Yes. This is a book that a lot of authors from around the world of sci-fi and fantasy have gotten together on. It is short stories, all from different perspectives in the Star Wars universe, from side characters or characters involved in a scene that weren't the main focus of it in a movie or previous thing that existed. So literally it's dozens of short stories. And so this audiobook kills it because it is a lot of actors and voice actors coming together to do this. And so you have everyone from the actual audiobook readers like January Lavoie and Mark Thompson, who have done all the Star Wars books. And then you also have like actors like John Hamm and Neil Patrick Harris. Then you have voice actors like Ashley Eckstein. And so you have this entire cast of characters from out the Star Wars universe all together, giving little short stories about this world that I love.
Oh, hold on. Neil Patrick Harris reads in this?
Yep, he is on the list amongst a lot of people, frankly.
There's a ton of people involved in this, yeah.
I was a little too busy staring at the fact that there's another Thrawn book coming out. So like, oh, okay, I'm going to have to read that one or listen to that one in this case, or preferably both.
I think, I haven't gotten to it yet, but I think John Hamm is Boba Fett, which makes it even funnier for me. I don't know. I'm really excited to see all the different characters they have in here. They're literally, the short stories are like Qui-Gon and Greedo and, you know, like all these characters that are just sort of there. But then also things like the droid in the background of a scene from the movie and like what the hell he was thinking about.
It's a neat idea.
It's hilarious. I love
40
this stuff.
of them, apparently. 40 short stories over the course of 15 hours.
One of the short stories that I actually like is just a random Navy trooper. A guy who's just in the background of a scene. He's watching like the heads of the Empire talking. He's like, "This is crazy. Like these guys, they're doing crazy shit." I think it's really cute. There's a lot of stuff in here.
Like, why do we have to call it the Death Star? Are we the baddies?
Yeah, exactly. Like, wait, are we calling it the Death Star? It's really there's a short story about Yoda. There's a bunch of different stuff in here. The Lando short story is really good. It's fantastic. And then because it's read by some of the like not just people involved in Star Wars like the shows and stuff, but also like fans. And so it's really cool.
That seems pretty awesome. I'll have to check that out. I think I'll pick that one up. And you can get any book on Audible just with a single credit. And you can get a free audiobook over at audible.com/cynical. Alternatively, if you're in the United States, you can text cynical to 500 to get your offer pretty much immediately. And this is the largest selection of audiobooks in the world. You will not find a bigger one anywhere, with a huge selection of authors and the absolute best narrators, and a bunch of exclusive productions as well. Audible have actually started financing some of their own productions, which is pretty damn fantastic. So go and check that out. And if you prefer to read along, you can also, of course, use WhisperSync, which allows you to sync up your audiobook with the Kindle edition and simply use the Kindle app, either on your Kindle or any smart device. So that's a pretty cool way of doing it as well. Personally, I listen to mine when I'm having breakfast on my Alexa app and simply listen to it through my Echo, which works pretty well. It's a good way to do it. Audiobooks. For those of us who don't have free hands right now, check out Audible. Go and have a look. Audible.com/cynical for your free trial and free audiobook. We'll be right back after the break, folks. Don't go anywhere. More video games are a possibility, although not guaranteed. You're watching the Co-optional Podcast. We'll be right back. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Co-optional Podcast. Hopefully you enjoyed the wonderful sounds of 6.2 Sounds with remixes from Castlevania and Mega Man 2. All available at ocremix.org.
Pretty great. Dodge is probably muted, but who knows?
No.
No,
He's just munching. Dodge is munching.
Chewing, mastered the art of chewing quietly.
I'm
Impressive.
eating raw tortillas, so
With
there's
nothing.
no
Why?
sound. There's
Why?
no sound, really.
Is there any specific motivation for that? Or is that a thing? Or
I was just criticizing her for this while we
Yeah,
were.
Shannon was like, that's really weird. And I was like, I've done it since I was a little kid. And she was like, that's fucking weird.
Here's the
Let's
thing.
make it better.
But there's like some tortillas. What kind of tortilla did you get? Because there's some tortillas that are like, I think they're called like Gyro tortillas. Like one of the tortilla brands is like legit just delicious by itself. Like the tortilla itself.
Yeah, it is that brand. It's the,
I think it's like
the burrito sized tortillas, flour tortillas.
I think it's like a SoCal thing. They're like, I don't know. Who knows? They could be everywhere. But like, I've only seen them here and they're like just good. They're just, I take those things, some cheese, some hot sauce, make myself like a little like quesadilla.
Quesadilla.
Okay, a little quesadilla. That shit's delicious.
bachelor
Just
grade
perfect.
quesadilla right there. That's
There are
what you
people
want.
in chat saying they do it.
Okay,
It's
so
not-
you're all
Tortilla
it's
bread.
alright.
Well, I think because most of the time,
where's the butter?
most of the time
Where's the
tortillas suck.
hummus?
Well, I mean, you generally don't butter a tortilla. I mean, I put butter on pretty much everything, and I draw the line at tortillas. That doesn't seem quite right, but
like a good tortilla.
I can tell you try it.
Like a good tortilla. That one place that I like to go. Shout out to Ortega 120 in Redondo Beach. They have a little old lady who makes tortillas on this grill, and they serve them to you like fresh and hot, and it's like life changing. You don't need anything on them because they're like perfect. That's when
That's when you know you're at the primo like food cart for tacos, is if there's somebody just over there cranking out tortilla. You're like,
making tortillas, yeah.
And I stand by this. The older, the better. The older the old lady making the tortilla, the better the tortilla is every
Hunched
time.
over,
for sure.
He's got the experience. No doubt.
Yeah, absolutely. Every time they're like, if she looks like she's barely able to stand making that shit, you know it's going to be like the best tortilla you ever ate in your life. And that goes for everything. Every single food, the older, the better.
That's so true. Yeah. Food is an art, and it definitely you hone that craft with age for sure. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Now I just
what else
want
have we been
lunch.
playing this week?
Now I just
I have a food thing that I could talk about. A food game.
A food game. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Since we're talking about food, look, I like segues. So,
all right. What's the food game?
There's a little mobile game that I played. Took me about a day to beat it, and it's called Hungry Hearts. And when you first look at it, you're going to be like, this is Diner Dash, but with a little old Japanese woman. It's not. It's like the chillest form of people come in and ask for food and you give them food kind of a game. Because the game isn't really about that. The game is that there are a bunch of specific people that come into your restaurant, and your food, like, through serving them food, you learn about them. And so the goal of the game is to like give them food that reminds them of home, or food that reminds them of a person in their life. And then you unlock like more and more of their story. And once their story is fulfilled, then they never come back to the restaurant. So like it's just a bunch of tiny stories while you're also like trying to unlock, a lot of different types of foods, but it's super chill.
Sounds like a Jesse game.
Sounds like a game in which you would eventually end up having your diner shut down because all your
I was
regular
going to say, I'm
customers
not going to tell anyone how to run a business, but
It's like-
No, because the handymen and the
here
workers, they still come in because they don't have a story.
It's like,
There's just like,
where is everybody? I drove them off with understanding.
it looks very cute though, because you play as a little old lady. And so the food's good.
she's
as
a
we've
little old
discussed.
lady, and the restaurant used to be run by her husband, but her husband can't run it anymore. So she's taken over. And so like there's like the old man that she's known her whole life who comes in, and he's like, your husband's food was better, right? Like he's just like a crotchety old dude. Like there's just all kinds of different characters that she's known forever, that she like tries to help work through shit. And it's really simple. It's really chill. And I casually played it for a day and 100%ed the game.
Did you know, just for the record,
Yes.
that there are other games featuring this little old lady?
Featuring that late. I know that the company has made a game about Odin. There's like a game called Odin Cart.
There's one where it's a candy shop version, where it's the same little old lady, and it has a candy shop where kids come in to the candy shop and you help the kids out. There's a 1 and a 2. Oh my God. We're just going deeper.
Well, I guess I know what we're going to be hearing about next week on the show then.
Oh my
There's
God. There's
all
an
of
Odin
those.
Cart 2. What?
I've heard the Odin Cart games aren't great though, so I haven't tried those.
I really love what someone said in chat. Juzor says that's even more sad that the handyman don't have a story. How depressing. Like
They're just the like everyman that comes in.
I was like,
and
oh great, it's the
eats whatever.
disposable
every man don't have
male.
a story.
That is a little depressing, just slightly.
Look, this old lady can't fix everybody's problems, okay? It's just this specific, like, 7 people or so.
This is also the pitch for this game, like the text is just, it throws you like heartwarming curveballs at the very, it's like, experience a tale that'll warm your heart and your belly. Cook up a storm and expand your menu with old-fashioned Japanese home cooking. Save up money, buy upgrades for your diner. Meet a colorful cast of characters and listen to their stories. And remember, when the sun sets, look up at the starry night, and no matter where you are, your special someone might be, you can always share the stars. That's the end. That like comes out of nowhere. And it's just like,
Wow.
diner, meet your friends, and remember, no matter where your loved one is,
We all look at the same moon.
like, geez,
Wow.
But remember, at night,
Deep
the
purple.
werewolves come.
like
Yeah.
what a crazy turn that took. I guess they're going for sympathy.
We've had quite a lot of that
Yeah.
lately with restaurant-related stuff. Didn't we have that last week with the whole run a restaurant as a cat, summon the goddess, or don't?
Oh, yeah.
That's that weird-ass description.
Or don't.
Or don't.
Wow.
I love it. Yeah, that was high-quality stuff. There's a game coming out quite soon on mobile which involves cooking. I'm not sure if you are a monster chef or you are a chef that cooks monsters. I'm not sure which. I'm hoping it's kind of the former, that you are a monster who has decided to become a chef. But though I noticed it on they have I don't even know why. iOS now has a fucking pre-order section because you want to pre-order phone
Oh my
games,
God.
right? I don't know
Your
why
worst
that's there.
nightmare.
I don't know why it's there. I don't see the point. There's 0 point. But this Monster Chef game was in that section. I'm like, well, that sounds like it could be fun, I think. But I don't know what it is, and also why you try to give it a pre-order a mobile game. I don't understand that. So I guess we'll wait till that thing comes out to find out if it's any good.
It's really funny.
Oh dear. I was playing Fable Fortune, speaking of things that could be on and probably will be on iOS at some point. It's boring.
Yeah.
Yeah, it suffers from the same problem that anything that's trying to be Hearthstone suffers from, in that I've already played Hearthstone, and you're not
Right.
different enough to make me want to play you instead. That's the main problem with it. Like, the game is so fucking similar to Hearthstone in pretty much every way, with a couple of Fable-like things that happen. Like, you start the game with a quest, you complete, which is like play 2 minions or whatever. You complete the quest, and you choose whether to upgrade your hero power with a good version or an evil version. And by going like either good morale or evil morale, certain cards transform. Like, you can get the dog from Fable 2, and it can either be a good dog or a bad dog, and they have different stats and abilities.
Yeah.
But that's basically the only difference between that game and Hearthstone. It is otherwise the same thing with Fable characters, and really I can't remember much about Fable characters. It's like, oh, that's a chicken. Isn't that funny? There was a chicken in Fable. Like, the references are not good enough to make me think, oh, I would like to really get in on this theme, you know? The Warcraft theme makes sense. Star Trek theme makes sense. But fucking Fable? Nah.
Fable is one of those franchises that just like lingers. Like, people are purposefully keeping it alive for reasons I still don't know. And I don't know if it's just like rosy colored goggles of the past of what like Fable 1 was, but there were other Fables that were not as good. And so I just don't know. Man, I just don't know.
I think when Fable became more of like a GTA 5 kind of experience, I was just like,
You've gone super quiet all of a sudden. I'm not sure why. I don't know if your mic's too far away from your mouth or whatever, but
can you hear me now?
It, like, her volume starts off low, and then as she keeps talking, it gets louder.
yeah,
So
which
it might
is
be
a
like
bit
Maybe just
strange.
because I was speaking underneath my breath.
Maybe.
A little bit.
All right.
We're good.
Well, hopefully that fixes itself. Anyway, yeah, Fable. I know they're working on another full-on Fable game, I heard. which is probably a good thing. I mean, Microsoft doesn't exactly have many of those exclusives at the
Yeah,
moment.
that's
It could do with it. Fable, the original Fable, even though it wasn't everything that Peter Molyneux promised, was still a good game. Fable 2 was a bit short, but it was good. Fable 3, not so much.
Do you think Fable is a strong enough property to like sell well now?
I
Well,
think
that's
it
what I'm
is
saying.
if
I
you
don't
make
know.
a full size one and you don't do what they've tried to do with it, which is spin the franchise off into a card game or a 4 versus 1 dungeon crawler, which they tried to do,
Right.
or their Connect game like Fable the Journey or whatever they tried to do. If they stop pulling that shit and just say this is Fable 4, a full-sized action RPG in this world, then I think people will buy it.
I feel like this is a game that needs a strong reboot, like just a Fable, just like, because to me, what all this, and I think TV's right, what all this smells of to me is they had a Fable 1, it was awesome. They had a Fable 2 and a Fable 3, didn't do 3 especially, didn't do nearly as well, and there was a desire by someone or a group of someone's to, we want more, we want to create more Fable, we want to make more Fable. And they tried to make it with that game that was like the boss,
Yeah.
like 4v1.
Fable Legends, I think they called it. The thing is, the thing is, that was sad thing. That game was good. Like, it shouldn't have been a Fable game.
Right,
And the fact that game got cancelled actually sucks, but never mind.
And so, and I feel like what it all screams of is we want to keep Fable going, but no one's willing to invest the money and resources needed to make
a full one.
actual Fable game.
Yeah.
But people love it enough within the company that we want to keep it going, but no one wants to take the chance, which is they just need a hard reboot. Like a Fable 1.
I think you're right. You know, does anyone actually really remember the plot of Fable? Like, it's pretty forgettable, let's be honest, but the idea of it, you know, Fable as a world is totally doable if you just reboot the concept and change everything around. It's fine. It's not like there's a lot of characters that I think people are attached to in Fable. They just like the way Fable played. It was like, it's a fantasy RPG, it doesn't take itself too seriously. It's got the sort of weird romance element, the ability to buy houses and do some silly shit, kick chickens, you know, get the chicken kicking record and all that kind of stuff. It was just silly. You know, it was a generally whimsical fantasy RPG, and we could do with one of them, actually, I think.
Yeah, it let you do a bunch of things that at the time RPGs didn't let you do. It was all about like grinding XP and killing bosses and shit. And this was like, you can like build stuff and run things, and I think that's a concept that
If you want.
Yeah, if you want. And I think a lot of people did want that. And
They wanted the ability to be a rebel.
Mhm.
Yep. You could, you know, there was a lot of fun stuff in Fable 1. I have fond memories of that game, but
For sure.
not fond enough to make me say, "Oh, I love the franchise," because I don't. You know, I love the franchise enough to play a fucking card game that's in it, because I don't. So I don't really know why they decided that was a good idea. I don't think it's going to do very well. The only reason I think it's got any chance of having any legs is that it's also an Xbox, which has a limited selection of CCGs available to play. And it does have cross-play, so even if the PC version is dead on arrival, which it probably is, then you can still cross-play with Xbox players, and there'll be some of them. But outside of that, no, I mean, I'm not going to play it. I, played a few rounds of it, and I was like, this is just entirely too much like Hearthstone. I cannot be bothered with it.
Yeah, and again, it goes to a lot of the games that are similar to Hearthstone. Is someone in a company got the idea that like, well, there's a lot of people who love Hearthstone, but they also love our thing.
Yeah.
So if we can combine Hearthstone with our thing, but it's like,
they don't love your thing as much as you think they do. You know, you could also make a good game that goes along with it. I think Elder Scrolls Legends is different enough. And
also, the Elder Scrolls franchise is long and storied, and people care.
Yeah.
And people to this day still buy Skyrim enough. They buy it on way too many consoles and way too many releases. So, like, that has legs, and you can sell that shit. The amount of other things, the other IPs that are coming out with card games similar to Hearthstone is just like, I imagine somewhere along the line, they're like, well, it's easy. We just like put a bunch of fucking cards together and it's a card game. Done. I don't know. I don't know what people are thinking, but that's why I don't make games.
Yeah, I think that's why we're going in the direction of Artifact, which is nothing like Hearthstone, with a completely different business model and everything like that. Like, it is about time. There are enough disenfranchised Hearthstone players that you could populate another card game that was sufficiently different but competitive. This obviously isn't it, but Artifact might be. I mean, it's fucking Valve. People are not going to ignore it as much as they're trying to pretend, card game, where's my Half-Life 3? People are going to play this a lot. Like, it's going to make money. There's no question.
Every FIFA game ever, and yet they get millions of users, so...
And millions of dollars a year in fucking Ultimate Team Packs and shit.
Yeah.
There's a strong
so
audience
there is a demand for it. It just isn't us.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is exactly it. It is a different demographic entirely.
I'm fascinated, but I'm really curious what the numbers for Hearthstone look like, especially with the new expansion they announced yesterday coming out.
You think they're dropping off, or?
I don't know that they're dropping off. I imagine I don't think there's a drop, but I would imagine over time there has to be a decline, right?
I think it's peaked.
Think so.
Sorry, no, all I'm saying is I think it's peaked.
Has it gone up? I mean, I honestly don't know. I feel like eventually it has to go down because just based on the way card games are. Like, you're into it, you're spending money, and then at some point you realize, like, I spent too much money on this and I'm moving on to something that isn't this, or you grow out of it. Like, there's just phases, and I'm curious what the numbers look like. I wouldn't even guess that it's like a steep decline, and I wouldn't guess that it's a drop off. I just think eventually we would see a trend that over time it would go down, and then I wonder where those people go. Like, I'm really curious where they end up at, if they want more a Hearthstone game, we're just tired of it.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think we would all agree that Hearthstone was the catalyst for so many other games making standalone card games, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, you're right. It has to do with whether or not they want something that's like Hearthstone but gives them something new, or if they want something completely different, like if the ratio of people who stopped playing Hearthstone and instead played like Gwent, right? Like
I'm curious on that. I think that Hearthstone in particular, and just card games, digital card games, are hard to transition from one to another, not because they're mechanically different. If anything, they're very mechanically similar. But it's down to the fact that who the fuck wants to pay for another collection of shit you can't then sell afterwards? Right. If I played WoW TCG, at least I could have dumped my collection. I could have sold it once I was done when people finished with Magic.
Right now, and you're making a fortune. The cards in that game are selling for a ton.
Well, unscratched ones anyway for the in-game loot, yeah. But like with Magic, I could dump my collection and I'd get some money, and then I could get back into it later maybe. As it stands, I have thousands of dollars worth of fucking Hearthstone cards on an account that can't even use them outside of WoW play. And I don't want to buy, I don't want to spend $400 on the next expansion. I think that might even be why the actual development is leaning towards putting a single-player component in every expansion, just to try and get people to come back. Because I know I came back for Kobolds to play that dungeon run mode. I didn't spend any money, but I imagine a portion of people that came back off the back of that got back into the game and started spending money again.
Yeah.
Which is why they're doing another one of those with the latest expansion.
That was a fun mode. I thought it was short. Like, after a while, I was like, all right, I did that. That was cool. And then moved on again. But, yeah, I understand why they keep doing stuff like that. And I definitely think that's the key to keeping people playing, is creating single-player content.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think that a strong esports presence is going to really keep people interested in Hearthstone. At least it doesn't seem to have really done.
Oh, I agree with that. I was at the convention I was at this past weekend, had a huge esports component to it, and Hearthstone was one of the things there. The Hearthstone tournament had maybe like 4 rows of seats, and then it wrapped up Sunday morning and all the other tournaments, even like Melee was still huge crowd. People were going crazy. And Hearthstone was just an empty stage for the entire day because they were done.
Sure.
Because like
Right.
that was the number of entrants and they finished. So it's like, oh.
Esports-wise, Hearthstone's clearly not growing. I mean, you can just look at the numbers whenever it does a tournament on Twitch to see that. It's still an enjoyable enough to watch game, but
Oh, yeah,
I
definitely.
remember when Hearthstone dominated the front page of top games. It's still in the top 5 right now. Like, it's still, and that's
Yeah,
impressive.
we're
For a
saying all
game
this
that
critical
old.
stuff, but it's still doing really well.
Yeah, for a game that old, it is still doing pretty fucking well. It's still a very watchable game. That's why. It's still a
Yeah.
very fun game to watch from a
And
first-person
it's a
perspective.
very
The
playable game as well, too. Like that's
Yeah,
the key.
it's very
is you don't
relatable.
have to be a genius to play it. It's
Yeah.
like it's visceral. You understand what to do immediately, and then it takes forever to master. But like,
Yes. You can see
Like,
it right
even-
off the bat.
Even the people who are really, really good at it and stream it. Like I can't remember the last time I saw Trump or like Hafu.
Half
playing
is streaming it
Hearthstone.
right now.
Is she?
Yeah, she's
Never
doing
mind.
arenas.
Roasted.
but
Trump's
that's the same
been in
thing
and
with
off.
that's the same thing with like TB and I though. Like everyone has to start somewhere, and I feel like Hafu and all like that was Hearthstone was their shit, and we had WoW. And at a certain point, to keep your career going, you can't just be that thing.
No, but
For
you
sure.
can't
Like-
tie your success to a single game like that. I know, and Trump has definitely gone out of his way to expand beyond that.
Yeah.
And he's good enough at card games and strategies to do that. Kriparian, obviously, I imagine, has also expanded. He's very, very good at Diablo-like games and such, so he can get views that way, but he still gets really good views when he plays Hearthstone as well. It's a good game to keep in your back pocket as a streamer if you're
I
good
still
enough.
play
for
WoW.
it.
Like it you know, it's shit. It's just one of those things that's like, as a streamer, you can understand why people would move away from it. But
Yeah,
I think
totally.
the vast majority of people are not streamers, and so I'm interested in that mentality of sticking with it versus leaving. What you would go to if you're still into card games, if you're done with card games. I just
Yeah, I don't know about
man,
that.
I need, like the Video Game Research Council. Can I run that? Can I just
Go
create
for it.
this?
Yeah, you
studies?
create it. Go for it. Yeah.
I just want information. I love that shit. I want infographics. If I could just have someone produce me infographics all the time, I'd be happy.
Dude, I'm with you. I love infographics.
I want
We
pie
want
charts.
information.
I want Venn diagrams. I want all of it. Just
Pie
give me
charts.
pages of that shit.
Do it.
I love it.
Yeah, I don't know where they go. I know that one or two went to Gwent, and I don't know if they stayed there, but I haven't seen anybody else sort of sticking with it, and a lot of them have said, well, we'll play some Hearthstone, but we'll do some Slay the Spire on stream or something like that, because that's entertaining, and yeah, it is. But competitively, no, I don't think... And it's got to mostly be a cost thing, right? I don't think people move digital card games, that often. How could you justify it? How could you justify the cost? I mean, I was looking at it at one point thinking, maybe I should get into this. And I'm like, what's the point, though? Because I know I'm going to quit at some point. Even though that's kind of a stupid way of looking at it. It's like, I know I'm going to quit at some point.
I see that shit.
When
I'm
I
with
do,
you.
I'm going to fucking regret all of the money that I spent on this non-existent imaginary shit, which is what Hearthstone cards are. They have no fucking value. All these microtransactions end up being utterly useless.
I feel like the people who get into Hearthstone now that it's like it doesn't have that initial new game shininess to it, they're probably gonna be the type of person that has lots of hours per week to spend, and they're just looking for something to fill that time for like an indefinite period of time. So it doesn't appeal to you because your time is so limited and you need to do so much with the time that you have available. But I feel like maybe it's single people or
People with
Yeah.
disposable
Students.
income. I mean,
Yeah,
Hearthstone is
you-
expensive. It's an expensive fucking game if you get in right now. Ridiculously
Yeah.
so.
yeah.
The fact that I relate to UTB on this so much, I think this has to be some sort of like Warcraft syndrome.
Yeah.
Man, you spent
I knew you were gonna
years.
say that.
Massive
Grinding.
sunk cost
Yes,
complex.
grinding for awesome gear
Yeah.
to only have it be worthless the next expansion. And after doing that so many times and doing that same thing over and over again, you realize like all of the achievements and all the things I'm buying in games, it's nothing. It's like dust.
It means
I'm
nothing.
wasting my
Yeah.
time. Oh,
Yep.
Okay. Someone just mentioned something really, really important in chat. They're asking whether or not Valve will allow trading artifacts. Now, could you
Yeah,
imagine
they are.
if Blizzard had a marketplace for Hearthstone cards, and that you could actually like make money back the way that TotalBiscuit was talking about selling his Magic cards when he was done with it. Imagine if you could get something back, even if it was like a percentage less.
That's
for the
exactly what they're
invested
doing
time
with
and
it.
money that you would put into Hearthstone.
well,
My
wasn't that
goodness,
what they
I mean-
tried to do with Diablo and like the world hated it? I
To
don't.
some extent, yes. Yeah, like an auction house of some description. Yeah,
and, like,
Blizzard have been
fans
burned
hated
on
it.
that one a bit before.
Yeah, I
And
don't
yet they
know.
loved it in World of Warcraft.
You could, well, WoW seemed to be okay with it, and evidently Diablo wasn't. They got burned pretty hard on the auction house concept. But we know for a fact now, because they've talked about it, a fact that, yeah, it's going to be heavily built into Valve's trading economy. And you're going to be able to buy, trade, and sell all of the stuff that you have. And that's great. The thing is that Valve already has the setup for that, and they've had it set up for fucking years.
And it works.
Blizzard is way behind on that particular thing, if they even wanted to do it. And honestly, their current business model is just milk the shit out of Hearthstone for as long as possible.
Yeah.
And that seems to still be working fairly well a few years down the line. Yeah, we
It's
can
gonna keep
complain all
working
we
well.
want about the cost, and people can leave, but if people are still buying large amounts, you know, even if they're just, and I say just, spending $60 on the pre-order every couple of months on the expansions, that's still fucking regularly hundreds of dollars a year that is being given to Blizzard for Hearthstone cards. So they're doing just fine. They don't need a trading anything. You know, it would be very consumer friendly if they had it, but they're never going to implement it in a million years because they could still continue to milk this model. I'm hoping this is the final time. I hope this model dies. I really do. I think years ago I defended this model as being like, well, it's like regular card games. Like, this is how it's always been. And now in 2018, I wonder if it's like, no, it shouldn't be, should it really? And also, it's now no longer the only model. You know, there are different models, like living card games, which are much better value. So I think we should hopefully see more of that.
Oh.
So, fuck Hearthstone, it's too expensive, is the conclusion there.
In the end, yeah.
And then yeah, I'm eager for the few, I'm gonna call them elite players because they are, who are like, I haven't paid anything, and I also float, and I'm a vegan. Those people are like, good for you, man. I'm so proud of you.
Well done.
That's not the rest of us.
No, no, it is not.
Yeah. Well, that's a whole lot of bragging. That's just like, no.
It's like, who you got to play against? Everyone else has left now because they were sick of how expensive the game was.
I
Having
play
some mobile games
myself.
all the time.
Yeah, it does. I can't get sucked into any of those mobile games now for that very same fucking reason.
You could play some Hungry Hearts.
I could.
You could.
Fortnite.
I could
announced-
summon the goddess or not. Oh yes, Fortnite on phones. Yeah, that's a
Oh,
thing that's
yeah.
happening.
That's a big announcement.
Yep, that's
They also
people
announced cross-platform. Right?
yes, they did.
Yes.
You'll
Which is
actually be able to
Big.
play.
It's the first battle royale that's cross-platform. So
Yep, you
Yep.
can use your phone to play against PC users if you want to. You can apparently opt into that. I can't imagine why
I
you ever
wouldn't,
want to do it,
but-
but you can do
You
it.
know what? I'm actually in favor of that for one reason. I think Ninja needs a nerf. So if we make
Ah.
him play on mobile and everyone else play on PC, then it's going to be a level
There we
playing
go.
field. So.
It's fair enough. But yeah, they
of
needed a mobile version because, you know, there's a mobile version of PUBG in China and all that kind of thing. So
Yeah, they're not happy about that.
yeah, Jesse, you seem
Yeah, no,
skeptical.
speaking of studies, I'm really curious when the tipping point was of, oh, this Fortnite thing, it's like PUBG, that's stupid, to everyone's playing Fortnite, and Fortnite is on the cover of magazines and shit, and everyone's like, this is the new hotness. And I want to know.
There were two specific points that I can identify when that happened. The first one was when it came out on console before PUBG, at which point it absolutely fucking crushed in terms of new player acquisition, especially considering it's free. And the second one was when Epic spent all the money on Twitch with one of the biggest fucking promos I've ever seen when it comes to basically buying the whole site at that point. Huge amounts of giveaways, drops.
Two brand deals. I don't even play those types of games.
They've offered me 5.
I was like, yes!
5 brand deals is what they've offered me. I haven't taken a single one of them, but they have reached out to fucking everybody.
That's what I'm saying.
Hey, it's a business model that works.
Yeah, it does. It does, especially for a game like that.
Great
It's going to be
actually,
a watchable game.
This is a prime, beautiful, golden egg example of why game developers should do sponsored arrangements with streamers.
Yeah.
If
and I feel like
you have the right kind of game for it.
That's true. Yeah.
Don't think it works all the time. Fortnite, I think, is a very watchable game. It's,
you also have to have a game that's not shit.
That helps.
Because that's not going to... There's not going to be any longevity there for you if your game sucks. I'm sorry.
I'm going to let you know, if your game is shit and you still want to give me money, I will play the fuck out of it.
Yeah, he'll do it. That's fine.
I'll play that game.
Yeah.
But it's got to be the right kind of game. It's going to be very watchable, which Fortnite is. It's good format for that. The constant tension of, once you're dead, you're dead. It's colorful, it's clean, it's clear. You can clearly see what's going on. It works well for streamers. So they did well there, but they threw a lot of money. There's a reason why Ninja made as much money as he did, getting all of these subs and everything. They threw a shit ton of money at Twitch, more money than most companies could possibly afford to get that promo out there. And they brute forced their way in many ways, but simultaneously they're also free and better to watch than PUBG. So
yeah, well, I mean, I think that I think that the comparison between Fortnite and PUBG goes very deep. There's a lot of stuff we could talk about there. It would take forever to unpack. But just about the promo side on its own, that was a multifaceted promo deal. They bought ad space on the front page, right? So they bought the window, the skins, all that stuff around everything that you'd see when you go to the landing site. But then also they obviously did the sponsored arrangement. But then they also did the Twitch Prime, which of course is still going on right now. And that was... I mean, I don't even have words that I can say for the mania that the Fortnite Twitch Prime sponsorship thing has caused. It is actually insane. And what's crazy is that it's gone outside of the realm of Twitch. There are people who've never even had Twitch accounts that don't care about Twitch and never even have watched anything to do with Twitch that are hearing about this arrangement from YouTube, and they're coming over to Twitch and they're making an account and they're connecting it all and they're getting all their stuff, and I mean, it's kind of a win-win for Twitch as well, because now Twitch is benefiting off of the millions upon millions of players that Fortnite has. What do they have now, 40 million or something like that? Right?
Something absurd like that. I mean, it helps when it's completely free and runs on a toaster.
Yeah.
In terms of I asked my son about this yesterday, actually. And I asked him, are you not playing Fortnite? Do your friends play Fortnite? I was like, yeah, all of my friends play Fortnite. That's pretty much all anybody talks about at school.
Yeah.
And why
not?
That
demographic, yeah.
Well, I mean, why wouldn't it? It's free, whereas PUBG is not. It runs on a toaster, whereas PUBG does not.
Yep.
It's obvious.
Art style.
Yeah, it's very obvious as to why it would do well in that demographic.
Yeah.
I think it's fast. From a business standpoint.
Yes.
I don't think there's any other way that you could have done this, because you're right. When you look at the similarities,
perfect.
When the game came out, everyone who was full on PUBG was look at this. This game is PUBG.
They shitting on it.
So business wise, the only option you have, you can't just release a game and hope people take to it. You have to pummel people with it and be this is better. Yeah. Look at this, and throw it everywhere. And that's exactly what they did. From a business standpoint.
Oh, they did. Yeah.
They nailed it. That's the way you market a game like that.
Yeah, it is one of the most flawless examples of marketing I have ever witnessed in the game industry.
Absolutely.
It's actually nuts. I mean, the thing is
It's
that
a
I
good
don't
job
really
they
like
had
to
enough
compare-
money to pull that off, because not many companies could.
True.
Well, when you're Epic Games, yeah. That's the thing too, is that I don't really like to compare the games themselves, because I do think that they are completely different experiences, and so I agree with the sort of like more middle ground of that. But when you compare the business approach, when you compare the development approach to roadmaps and updates and fixing bugs and things like that, not talking about the content of the game whatsoever, talking about the approach to loot crates that they both do, like, well, loot crates, but items that you can get. The fact that yes, you can pay for lots of cosmetics in both games, but like Fortnite BR is free, and then you have the option to pay for all the whatevers, whereas with PUBG you're paying for the game and then you're also paying more for the cosmetics. Like like there's a lot that everyone could learn from Epic and Fortnite.
Yeah, there's also a lot people can learn from PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds and what not to do from a PR standpoint.
That's absolutely true. And
they were like on top of the world, and then he had to open his damn fucking mouth. There was no reason, and no one was going to feel any sympathy for him when he came out and whined about Fortnite and whined about everything else, and originality, copying. It's like,
wait, hold on. I don't think that was him. I thought that was.
There were two separate people. There was the exec from Bluehole. He did it as well. And he also did it in an interview quite some years ago. Like, I've said this for a while. PlayerUnknown is actually kind of obsessed with the idea of copying ideas and being very against that, despite the fact that that's exactly what he did in order to, make this game in the first place. Like, sorry, but you didn't write... I don't think you wrote Battle Royale, mate. I'm pretty sure.
Well, no, it's not just that. I'm pretty sure he's said it in a couple of, at least early on interviews, that like during the Arma 3 BR days, that the inspiration was actually, I mean, yes, there's Battle Royale, the book and the movie, and there's Hunger Games.
Yeah.
But his inspiration was specifically from Survivor games, the DayZ esport.
And if that were the case, well, he didn't make all of these survival games, and also that shit was in Minecraft before it was in Arma, so don't get me started on that either. Even if you did believe it.
Didn't they do like they did esport like community events for the Battle Royale that was in Minecraft as well, right?
Yeah, there were a lot of Minecraft Battle Royales and Hunger
Games
things. Yes, they did. They absolutely did. There's no question about it. And like this was in a PC Gamer interview years ago when he was talking about, make your own thing, don't copy other people, blah, blah, blah. There was the Bluehole guy and there was him as well. And it's just, it makes you look, you don't mention your fucking competitor. This is basic PR 101. You don't mention the opponent by name.
Yeah.
And you certainly don't say, they're copying us, but they're free. Don't tell people that. It's free, you say.
There are so many people playing this free game.
Why aren't you just playing their version of our game, but it's free, and it runs on a computer that doesn't cost $10,000? Maybe not, don't do that. But, I mean, PUBG is not going to die anytime soon. There's no doubt about that.
No.
It's still
No.
absurdly popular.
Let's be honest. But
it's lost its number one position in the market. And it's their fault.
Yeah.
I do think that this is going to wind up turning into a long-running joke, though. Because every time something good happens with Fortnite, everybody's like, but it's not like PUBG has to worry about anything. Like, they're fine. So what the fuck is their problem?
Well, it's like what we were saying about Hearthstone.
Yeah, eventually something's going to happen where we're going to start to say that and then laugh because they actually maybe do have to worry about something.
Yeah, I mean, you could have said that about H1Z1 for quite a while. It's like, it still has 100,000 concurrent players. It's doing just fine. Well, it's... Yeah. I mean, it's still actually doing okay, but they had to go free to play. So it's not doing anywhere near as well now. It's out of the top 10 on Steam now, which it's down to 27,000 concurrents. Yeah, it's dying off.
For PUBG?
I'm talking about H1Z1.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah.
PUBG is still the top on Steam. It still has 807,000 current players on Steam right now. How many of those are Chinese bots? We don't know, but it has quite a lot of people. Let's just put it that way.
I mean, yeah. I just don't. It's like what I just said about Hearthstone. Like, you know, we sit there and we criticize it and we say, oh, it's, you know, it's hit its peak. That's enough for it. But we can't really. It's not a failure.
It's not dead.
Not dying.
No.
It's like a Twitch. Like,
not even close.
It's like being, you know, in a massive mansion and you know your life is perfect. It's just like, oh, but I didn't get that knighthood as well. You know?
I wasn't number one in the charts this week. I only have
fine.
several platinum albums, you know?
Yeah.
It's like every time you see one of those videos is like, this YouTuber no longer super successful. Like, bro, they're doing just fine.
They are just fine.
They're still getting millions of views, like, but they're not getting tens of millions.
But I want a social blade. I want a social blade so I know
They,
all of your
it's not one of their
finances.
Cars.
Inside out.
Oh, no. Yeah, they're
I've
fine.
seen
They're
your
okay.
tax returns for the last 5 years. I know what's going on here. So
Yeah.
what do you mean your external sponsorships? What do you mean those sites don't mean shit? I don't know.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
I did see an article that was talking about the statistics of sales with PUBG, and it said that in January it was the first month that it posted a decline in sales, and you know, obviously
It's dying. It's dead.
Oh, it's dying, and it's like, no,
Don't invest in that game. It's already dead.
get over
They're doing
it.
it's the same thing that happens every time there's any big rush to do something with MMOs or MOBAs or now like battle royale games. It's like, oh no, the big one is failing. Like, no, there's just about 20 other games in the market sharing it with it now. Like,
Yeah.
settle it down a little bit. It's okay.
It's doing just fine.
Yep.
Just fine. You know another game is doing just fine? It's got rats in it. It's called Vermintide 2.
Oh, I thought you meant bad rats.
so
I thought
loud.
you were doing a
Not
callback
bad
to
rats.
bad rats. I was
No,
like, bad
definitely
rats?
not bad rats. That's not doing fine at all. But Vermintide 2 is doing very well. It sold over 500,000 copies in a week, which is quite a lot of copies for a game like that. It's doing quite nicely. It's also very good, as it happens. Enjoyed my time with it. I know Stripman's been playing it. I've been playing it. I played it with Sin Victor. We did a bunch of runs on that. It was good stuff. I know Dodger was involved in it. And she's just staring at the screen like nothing's happening. Rat game.
Rat
You
game.
know of game
Vermintide.
with rats in it. Vermintide. You are well aware of this. You've
I
been
have
tweeting
not
about
played
this.
it.
I know, but Strippin has, and you've become a mascot of some sort.
I am the his chat was role playing as Skaven
As you should.
because they turned on the Twitch integration, right? So they made it so that chat was Skaven, so they were choosing what they would like to do with their
Awesome.
almighty Skaven powers. And it was determined that all choices that they made were for the Doog Mother, which if you look up Skaven brood mothers, it's really gross. There's just like a ton of super fat
Yeah, pretty
rat
much.
ladies who just have millions of rat babies, and that's all that they do. So I was like, well, if I'm going to be super fat over here, just having a million babies, you can at least feed me man flesh. And they were like, great. So that's what it became.
Yeah, there's a lot of Skaven currently in my chat. That just
Yeah.
happened. Oh dear.
It was pretty funny.
I made a mistake mentioning that, apparently. The game itself is pretty fucking good, as it turns out. You got rats and you got chaos this time, which is a nice little addition. It's a lot harder than the last one, as far as I'm concerned, because there's a shit ton more you have to deal with. And they also took the easy mode out, which apparently upset some people. It's a bit more gear dependent. I'm in two minds about that. I don't know if I like it or I don't like it. To some extent, I think with the original game, they specifically said, we didn't make this game with loot in mind, but then realized, oh, people like loot, and we have a loot system. We should probably try and make the loot system less terrible,
Right.
because people are not enjoying getting loot that is awful, that they can't use. So they did some stuff, and then with Vermintide 2, it's like, okay, people like loot. We are going to have to accept that, so we're going to have to put a proper loot system in the game with power ratings and shit like that, which means now that the higher difficulty levels are a little loot dependent, you know? Whereas before, it certainly fucking helped, but you could definitely beat the higher difficulty levels with, you know, not so great weapons. I don't think that's true this time, but I think the game was going that way, and the loot is fun. You know, there's a good variety of it. I have this little fucking knife, which is basically a letter opener, but I move really fast with it. And you think, oh, that makes me a rogue, right? No, I'm actually the fire mage, and instead of setting things on fire, I'm just running around stabbing everything in the neck with this fucking letter opener. It's like, TB, what are you doing? It's like, I'm really fast! You don't understand! I'm just chopping heads off with this fucking thing. And I was like, I wasn't able to do that in the previous game. I feel like I've got a lot more choice now, which is actually pretty neat. I'm not stuck to just standing at the back throwing fireballs at things, which is good.
I feel like the thing visually for me that's the weirdest in that game is the jumping puzzles to get the books.
Yeah. They were in the first one as well. And I don't know, it's a bit of an odd system. Like, you know, they wanted that optional difficulty thing. And they nicked that straight from Left 4 Dead with the gnomes, if I recall correctly, where there was the optional thing where you bring a gnome to the end. In this, you actually gained a genuine benefit for doing that. But yeah, the finding a lot of the tomes and the grimoires does involve doing jumping puzzles and also remembering where they are. I can never fucking remember where those bastard things are. Not in a million years.
And even if you do remember where they are, like, you don't... The things that you're supposed to be jumping on, typically, you don't actually land on that thing, right? Like, the box of where you land is so much bigger than the actual thing.
Yeah. That
it's just visually really odd to watch somebody do these little jumping puzzles. I was man, this is going to be really difficult. That piece of wood is like this big, and they land not anywhere near it, but they're still fine.
I think they made it easier because people were just pissed off in the first game with those jumping puzzles where they actually you've got to make this jump very specifically. And then you miss it and you fuck it up. But yeah, they changed that. So they made it a little less ridiculous. But I mean, the whole game is just better than the first one. It even runs better and looks better. It's fucking gorgeous. But I will say it is not perfect from a bug department. I had a bad experience where we did a deed where, like, you get these every now and again. You get this kind of quests called deeds. And they add a modifier to the mission. And this one was like, we're going to spawn constant hordes of rats on you all the time. So this is going to be pretty hard. And we struggled through it and we beat it. And absolutely nothing. I got no reward at all.
No, what?
Yeah. Apparently they just fixed that today, according to chat. But yeah, basically people who were doing deeds, half of them weren't getting any rewards whatsoever.
No, oh, that's so sad.
Yeah, that was the last match we did before we went offline. I'm like, that really soured me on that. Apparently
the devs...
do
anything to fix it?
They just did, as of today, apparently. So
okay.
that's fixed now, but, you know, it was sad that the game, which is much better optimized than the first one, is not necessarily bug-free in a way that... These aren't just funny bugs, these are really bad bugs that impede your progress, and that's a very bad thing.
Right.
That's fixed now, apparently, so that's great. It's a fucking good game. We haven't had a good Horde mode game in a while, and now we're getting, like, 2. We're getting that and Deep Rock Galactics, I think is its name.
Yeah, that looks really cool. The space dwarves, right?
Yeah, space dwarves.
Yeah.
Krendor played a bunch of it, and apparently is quite high on that game. So, if you would prefer a sci-fi setting rather than a fantasy setting, you can have dwarves with guns instead.
Yep.
So there's the thing.
All right. Yeah.
But I do like my Vermintide 2, though. I'm very, very happy with Vermintide 2 up to this point.
Yeah. Sam has been loving it. He's playing the shit out of it.
It's a lot of fun. It's a ton of fun. Cool. Well, we have hit the hour mark, so we are perhaps going to take a break. When we come back, we'll talk a little bit about news, and we'll look through this release list and see if we can find you anything remotely good. I promise nothing. We'll be right back after the break. You're watching the Co-optional Podcast. Don't go anywhere. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Co-optional Podcast for the final 50 or so minutes of the show, where we usually cover news and releases.
I think we should cover my news.
I think... usually I would resist you on this one, but I can't find anything better. So what the fuck ever? Just do what you want.
For everybody who's watching, I sent TB a link to the Brawly trailer for Dragon Ball Fighters because they like teased it. They would be like, "Oh man, our trailer dropped," but it would be like a piece of paper that said trailer, and then they would drop it on the floor and be like, "Ha ha ha ha! Actual trailer is out now." So I sent it to TB and I was like, "For the news section, in case like we need stuff," and he was like, "Anime isn't news." I was like,
it's trash. Is what it is. Trash.
But yeah, we have a trailer for a character that's going to be coming to Dragon Ball Fighters. He's fucking huge, which he should be.
I don't recognize him, but then again, I don't recognize any of them.
He's from a movie. He's from one of the Dragon Ball movies.
I have a similar understanding of who the characters are in Dragon Ball than Donkey does. Donkey seems to know absolutely nothing about it, and I don't either, and I feel comfortable with that. But weirdly enough, I still want to play this fucking game now. It's been weird over the course of a number of weeks. I've just been watching videos of it, and I'm just like, I don't have a fucking clue who any of these people are, and I think for a tag roster fighter, that would be a really important factor. And yet, somehow, and I think it's mostly because sometimes people get punched through mountains, that's a reason to play it.
That's Dragon Ball.
Yeah. And it's like, and how fucking good does this game look? I mean, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
That's just not even fair.
With the cell animation, it looks fantastic. It also looks very clean. I feel like we were talking about this last week.
That it looks really clean and that makes it easy to watch?
It's easy to tell what's going on, which is so rare for an assist fighter.
Yeah.
So,
oh, yeah. Absolutely. I had huge problems with that in Marvel vs. Capcom, watching that. I still don't necessarily like assist fighters because of the, oh, he's up in the air, he's going to be there a while, I'll go make myself a cup of tea and I'll come back and he might have stopped fucking juggling me.
Yeah.
That's something that I don't like. But
because like in Guilty Gear, they have stuff to prevent that. Not necessarily prevent it, but like interrupt it and give yourself an opening. You know?
Killer Instinct, I think, is one of the best games for that because it was like you can combo break, but you better damn well be sure that you're hitting the right combo break at the right time. Because if not, well, you're in this juggle for a while and it's your own fucking fault. But doing those long combos was also quite easy. Even a newbie could do it. So unlike Marvel vs. Capcom, where someone does a 80-hit juggle on me, and I'm like, I couldn't do that. I couldn't even retaliate. It's like, oh, I'm finally down on the ground. I could do a dragon punch on you. And then it's like, oh, it's another 90-hit aerial combo that's happening. Right, okay, great, cool. Still, I still haven't played the game. I still want to play the game now. It just looks too fucking good, and
it is fun.
I appreciate the devs of Guilty Gear too much to allow my prejudice against anime to get in the way, especially considering that their other games are anime as fuck anyway.
It's true.
So it would be a little hypocritical regardless.
Yeah, I don't know when we're supposed to get a Bardock trailer. I don't think we have, but Brawly and Bardock, I think, are the only two characters that have been like officially announced. The rest of it has just been data mining. So
they all sound like vegetables.
Yeah, all of the Saiyans are vegetable puns.
They're vegetables. They're all vegetables. That makes sense.
Yeah, just like all of the like Bulma and Trunks and her whole family are all underwear jokes.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
that makes good sense.
Toriyama's got a good head on his shoulders.
What else have we done on the news? Because we kind of talked quite a bit about newsworthy topics like Vermintide selling a shit ton and all that kind of thing. There is one thing we didn't talk about, though, which was kind of the catalyst for getting you on the show, Shannon, because you were extremely outspoken about this particular topic. Rightfully so, because frankly, in my opinion, it's also bullshit. And that is Twitch and what they've been doing lately when it comes to communication. Let's just put it that way. Why don't you tell us about this specific incident that set you and quite a few other people, myself included, off?
The most recent one was the issue over the win-back email. So win-back emails are really common. They're not necessarily something that anyone who uses the internet on a daily basis is at all like foreign to or whatever. It's where, you know, your subscription to Spotify or Netflix or whatever, you cancel it for whatever reason, and you're not really, you know, you're not feeling it, and they send you some emails later on down the line going, oh, but don't you miss such and such show and some kind of music or whatever, and that's all well and good. The problem was that Twitch decided to try this out. And I say Twitch as an entity term, but really it's not that every single person at Twitch is behind this idea.
I thought they were all in on it. The whole thing was a giant conspiracy.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is that so many people tweet about it, and they do think they do make the assumption, or at least it seems that they do, that there is just this entity of one mindset, one groupthink, and that's totally not how it is. So my first reaction towards seeing that this email had been sent out, and I wasn't even sure if it was real, because
there was only one source for it. Yeah,
that's right. It wasn't a partner. It was actually just a regular user who said, "What is this shit?" And by the time I saw it, which was in the morning, I think on Saturday, it already had 1,000 likes on it. Like, people were all freaking out about it. And my first thought was, oh, someone either new or someone who isn't involved at all, it's not their role to be, and they don't have any experience with it in the community side of things, has pushed something out without checking with other people who do have involvement and investment in the community side of things, and would be able to say, you know, maybe we should talk about this before
maybe
you
we
do
shouldn't
that.
do that. Yeah.
Specifically, talk with streamers about it.
Exactly.
Yes.
I mean, and that's the difference between things like Netflix and Spotify. There is nothing wrong with a win-back email. It is normal, but the problem is that when you have a voice like Twitch sending it out, and first of all, let's not even get into the language, but just first of all, sending it out without including the other stakeholder in this business split of a sub,
which is
the partner,
us. Yes.
Exactly. So, I mean, it is, if you look at like what a subscription is paid to, it's paid to the partner or affiliate, and then it's paid to Twitch.
Yeah.
And only Twitch is making this business decision. It would be as if I went into your place of business and I changed something, and it's like, well, whatever, I own half the business, so I don't have to check with you. I can just do whatever I want. And that's really where I think a lot of partners and affiliates felt upset about this, was just simply that they weren't consulted on such a severe choice of words and everything to be sent out.
And it was, to me, it was the language. Yeah. I mean, I think
that's where it becomes a problem too.
Yeah, because this is we talk about the concept of win-back emails, and yes, they are very common in everywhere. Yeah. But this was a case of trying to win you back as a subscriber to a specific named partner. And these named partners were included in the email. It made it look like it had actually been sent out by the partner themselves, which was in itself a... Can we actually pull that email up and read the contents of it? Because I think it is quite relevant. Do you happen to have that to hand?
I don't, but I can grab it for you.
Yeah, if you would not mind, because chat is curious as to the content of it. And I think the content of it is very relevant. I think the language is very relevant, because the way that it was approaching it was certainly in a way that I would never, ever address my subscribers. And the way
I'm
that...
gonna pop it to you on DM. Just so you know.
Yeah, by all means, send it over and I'll read it out. And there we go. No, come through just yet, but it'll be there in a second. The language in the email was something that I personally would have never used when addressing my subscribers. And I go out of my way to address my subs in a particular way because we have a particular relationship, and that relationship to me is we are selling a product to you, the viewer. This product has X number of features, and in exchange for that, you pay Y number of dollars. That's kind of the extent of how the relationship works, and it's not about supporting me or us needing it or anything like that, or begging for it or asking for a donation or anything. It's about a service being provided. What this? So here's the language of it. It's quite short, but it goes something like this: "Gone so soon. something misses your support. Like, this was blacked out, so it was sent on behalf of a particular streamer.
Yeah.
And it said, hey, Scrivo, who is the name of the person that received it, real talk for a second. Firstly, what? Secondly, what? Support from subscribers like you is a huge part of why Twitch creators are able to do what they love. If you enjoy being a big part of what makes person's community great, please consider resubscribing. There are a bunch of terms in there that I view as exploitative. There are a bunch of terms that I view as emotionally manipulative and guilt-trippy in that.
It is downright guilt-trippy. And I think that's... So for me, you know, as a former Twitch employee, like, my first thought was, I know so many people in many departments that definitely would have said, this isn't okay. I would have been one of them if I was still there. So it definitely felt to me a bit like strange, and it came out of the, like, I would never have thought that would have been, it just feels like a fluke. And I think that's why we saw the apology comes to pass, which I guess we'll get to in a bit.
Will.
The problem with the language being very guilt trippy is that there's a big difference between and I think Ammunition and I were talking about this on Twitter, between Netflix coming to you and say, hey, Bryan Cranston really misses you and wishes that you would come back, and he needs your support.
Yes.
And, you know, you need to watch more Breaking Bad, and we are, would you just help us out? Like, if it was, can you just imagine how that would go over? And especially
you were such an important part of the Breaking Bad community.
Yeah. And I totally agree with you when you say that, you know, like, this is a service, a subscription is a service. You get things.
I mean, that's really just the way that I view it. And this is, you know, I did an hour-long conference call with Twitch specifically about how I do my subs, because they're not, I don't do them the same as a lot of other people. And Jesse's is very distinct. Like, you know, we look at the three of us, we all do subs in a wildly different way. Mm-hmm. And three different successful business models that work for three different audiences.
Mm-hmm. And having said that, I can see why someone who is not at all invested in the particular culture of Twitch might have thought that this wording was a good idea, because I have seen other partners and affiliates use language that is about support. Thank you for supporting me. And I don't think that there's anything meaning in saying thank you for supporting me. I don't think that there's anything wrong with any streamer or affiliate who does believe that this is like a recognition that a subscription is, yes, it's all these services, but it's also a recognition of support,
personal support and
content.
Investment.
Thank you.
In a person.
Exactly. So I get all of that, and I can understand why this employee would have felt, or team of employees would have felt, that this was a good idea. But the problem was that it is that tone, and it is doing it in the name of
somebody else,
without checking with them. And it is so, like, can you imagine, like, I mean, well, you guys know it, especially you, TB, because you really are very clear. You have said many times that your channel and your subscription model is strictly a service, and it is not about anything else. And so for you, especially,
that's why I didn't like tier 2 and tier 3 subs being forced on everybody, because I'm like, I cannot provide a service that is worth $10 or $25. You haven't given me the features to do that. It's not possible for me to do that. I feel like our service is worth $5 for a certain kind of person. Mm-hmm. And we've tried to add things to make it even more valuable, like the discount in the store and things like that. You know, that's not a obviously transparent way to try and make you buy more shirts, including our brand new one, the Snark Arts. But regardless of that, I'm just very, very good at my job. What can I say? I would never address my subs that way. And we've had Jesse and Dodger sitting here for the last 10 minutes sort of hearing us rant. I'd really like to hear what you have to say on it.
I wouldn't use this sort of language either, because like you said, it really has to do with the way that you interact with your community and the way that you talk with them. And my message on my streams has always been like, you're part of the community regardless. You don't have to subscribe. Like, if you want to, that's incredible, but like, you don't have to. So the idea of sending out a message that's like, without you, I'm dying.
Yeah.
Like a Sally Struthers ad, right? Please help these poor streamers.
In the arms of the angels.
Oh no.
The one thing that I thought was interesting about this email is at first I was going, oh, maybe this is an attempt for them to like meet people halfway about Twitch subscriptions or about Twitch Prime subscriptions, because people keep saying, God, it would be so nice if Twitch Prime subscriptions could be automatic.
Which of course they will never ever do.
They're never going to do because it's not in their best interest.
It costs them money.
Right?
Yeah, they don't want you to do that.
Yeah, so
they don't send this email for Prime.
Yeah, so I was like, oh, well, maybe this is them being like, we won't auto renew it, but we will remind you about it. And it was not that either. And I was like, if it had been for that, I might have felt a little different. I might have been like, I wish the wording was different, but it's nice that they're now reminding people like, hey, remember you've got Twitch Prime, and people are saying, oh, but they've got the little, oh, but they've got the little button now that shows up on people's streams. That's not clear at all to me. I don't think when I go,
you have to manually install that as well. And it's also, that needs a little bit of work.
Apparently it doesn't go away all the time. I turned it on.
Twitch Prime.
Your mouse for 10 seconds.
Blue button on every stream I watch, and I'm like,
well, the problem is it also brings up, and they need to disable this. It's 2 buttons. It's your Twitch Prime sub and Twitch Prime loot. I'm like, I don't give a fuck about the loot. And the problem is that keeps popping up. I don't want whatever it is you're trying to give me here. It's not. I can see why it's sort of why they've done it. And I turned it on because I'm like, yeah, of course. Why wouldn't I? A reminder. I do keep forgetting to use my Prime sub, and that has reminded me to do that. And it will be good to remind others, obviously, because we like money. But it is an annoying implementation of it. I absolutely agree with that. Jesse, you have a very different approach to subs, being that you are the only person on this whole platform with a one-time, if I recall correctly.
Yep. I still have his emotes.
Yep, a one-off sub. I'm subbed to you because kind of why not? It seems like I'm almost losing money if I don't.
Yeah, that trust me, there have been many conversations with Twitch that have been like, what if we just switch you over? And every conversation ends with me being like, if we do, everyone who's already a sub is a permanent sub forever. And they're like, we'll look at
yeah.
So
because you must have quite a few.
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
I don't think they're gonna do that. I don't think that's ever gonna happen.
We'll see. So I will say though, looking at all this stuff that's happened over the last few days, I think it's even though I give Twitch a hard time for the like bleed purple culture and stuff, and I'm like,
yeah, I don't like that.
Cultish, very very cultish bleed purple.
That's
yes,
my fault.
very much so.
I invented that.
All right.
Die under the Twitch flag, bleeding purple for your country and nation.
But like, even though I've always given it a hard time for that, and like jokingly I've been like, oof, okay.
Now I know who to blame. I'm gonna be taking the piss out of you constantly for this now. It's gonna be great.
Yeah, whoops.
I think as Twitch as a company grows and expands, and more people from outside the streaming community and more people who are in it for the business, not necessarily because they love the culture, I actually think it behooves Twitch to keep reminding them bleed purple, because it reminds them of what it is and what it was originally. And I feel like as all companies, as they grow and expand and they hire like business savvy dudes, you're going to get things like Maker Studios. Dink.
Oh my God. Don't even
where you watch it grow from like good intentions to, well, we need this guy because he's got an MBA and he can come in here and fix
exactly
some shit.
What
And
it was as well.
Like everything just collapses
the
from what you do.
Gets muddy. Yeah,
absolutely. And I feel like this is another example of sort of the corporation side of shit taking over, where it's like, well, this is how you lure them back in, and statistics say that this is what this does, and I guarantee.
Yeah, but it was so fellow kids though. Like it was watching Amazon beg for money, which is a pathetic thing, and it was doing it on behalf of the people.
That's what all of business is at the moment. Is like, hello, fellow kids, and
and it's cringeworthy and terrible and needs to stop. Yeah,
but I mean that's what a lot of like shit. You three worked at Maker. You know what every contract meeting was like. It was like,
I know.
hello there, best friend. Nice to meet you, person we've never seen before. It's like,
Well,
fuck me.
I never went to any of those contract meetings, so I just said,
never went
here is
there.
my contract. Here's me redlining out all of the shit that I am not going to accept. Take it out, you fuckers, and then give me the complete version. That
Yeah.
was how our contract
Personally,
meetings
worked
went.
there for years.
To be fair, that's probably why I'm
position.
still with them, and you guys left them because you had to deal with all that bullshit. And I didn't.
So when you see it in person, you understand, like,
Yes. Yeah.
oh, I get where this is going. And I feel like this is that thing. When I saw this, I was like, oh, this is the corporate side.
That's gotta
of
stop.
Twitch taking over and acting idiots. And then the community side is to be like, what are you doing?
Yeah, they've got to
And
hold them back. To some extent, Twitch is definitely going to change over the next few years. To some extent, it kind of has to. There was
It has.
there
And
was
it already has changed
Yeah.
a lot.
yeah, there's some there was a recent issue involving. I need to make sure I get this right, so I don't fuck this up completely. So I believe it was an Overwatch player who got released from their team because, amongst other things they'd done, they were in a tournament chat, and there was a African American player, and people were spamming the tryhard emote, which on its own, the tryhard emote is entirely innocent. But we've had incidents before where people have
And people
literally just
spam
seen
it just because a black person.
it's a
is
black
on Twitter.
person.
Was that Malik?
No,
Was that the Malik thing, or was that a different
XQC. The thing is, this has happened more than once. This happened during a Hearthstone tournament, and for Overwatch.
This was Overwatch.
Yeah, XQC is the name of the guy in question, and he got involved in the spam and then claimed to have no knowledge of the context that it was used in or whatever, but which obviously nobody believes in a million years. But that was punished. That was punished severely. And Twitch was part of that. Blizzard was another part of that. Blizzard has dealt with that kind of thing before. And tournaments in particular have a lot of bullshit going on in the chat when it's not properly moderated because there's too many people there and you lose control of it and, yeah, everything goes to hell. That stuff's got to go because things like OWL are incredibly expensive. And if people want to host big, important events, so I'm not just talking esports, I'm talking real sports. I mean, there's fucking real sports on Twitch now, for fuck's sake.
There is.
There are real companies, real people in there. You've got to maybe not change the core of the culture, just sand it off at the edges a little bit.
Well, anytime, not just money, but like ludicrous sums of money is involved in shit.
Yes, yeah.
Things change rapidly.
Yeah.
Suddenly, the world you exist in as a culture and corporation changes.
Yeah.
And it's just because there's a lot of money and a lot of people involved, and you have to, which, sucks for like
Makes
communities
sense on some level, yeah.
Yeah, and it things change, and that's what happens with success. And so, over the next couple of years, Shannon's right.
Well, so here's the thing, and I kind of want to explain as well why I invented the term bleed purple, which actually I didn't really invent. I just stole it from regular sports. But the reason
We were at a meeting one day, sacrificing a goat. Or God, Jet Thulu.
It said Zarth on its head, so it's fine. No, the reason why was because this was back in very early 2014, and I had just been made an admin, and I had run the Twitch subreddit for a couple of years at that point. I was just a community manager for Chris. Everything was very grassroots, and there was that feeling not just with my own experiences with Twitch, but beyond my own experience to the entire community. I remember attending parties at that time at PAXs and things like that, and it was very community based. I don't want to use the word family because I think that that's a little disingenuous, but I feel like it was very neighborly. And that is, I think I'm not the first person to say this, why Twitch is so successful. It managed to get that Amazon sale, and it managed to be such a massive, huge success that completely nuked the rest of it was in 2014 it was number 4 on the highest traffic websites in the US. right? Like, I mean, the nuclear growth it's seen is because of that sense of community and neighborhoodness. And I think that's because you can add all the features you want. You can slap in product until you're blue in the face. It's not going to matter.
There's plenty of sites that did. Back
Yeah,
in the
exactly.
day, when Twitch when Twitch had kind of just started and had changed from Justin TV, there was quite a lot of competition. We were having to decide whether we want to take a contract with Owned
3D.
Yeah, Owned 3D, and a lot of people did actually.
Yeah, they did,
Do we want to take contract with Azubu? Do we want to look into YouTube's? YouTube was starting to roll this out for people.
Yeah.
Hitbox, was another thing. Do you?
And they'll all try to say at the time that, we've got lower delay.
We've got lower latency and things like that. Yeah. To be fair, Twitch latency used to be fucking bad. Like, it used to be like a minute at one
the
point.
Twitch experience can be worse than those other platforms.
Yeah,
but what keeps it growing is this sense of culture that was building in the biosphere of Twitch. That's what made it a success. And the staff at the time were so intuitive that they knew to nurture that. So when I started using #BleedPurple on everything, like on my random tweets about whatever, staff picked up on that. Marketing picked up on that. And they started, I remember I went to E3, the only E3 I've ever been to in 2014. And the head of marketing took me around to the Twitch party, and he pointed at all these little signs that they had made up that said #BleedPurple on them. And he's like, that was you. You did that. And I was just like, aw, I did do that, And so, but that's the feeling. That's what made it so powerful. That's the Kool-Aid, right?
It became...
And why... What, sorry?
Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say,
finish your thought.
They don't want to... They can't forget about that, and they can't get away from that, because definitely you need to think business. I am a savvy business person myself, and I love looking for, success stories and ways to profit. Absolutely. But you also need to remember your core, your soul, I would say. You can have both. You can have business with a soul. You can have business decisions with integrity. You can do both. Twitch is very good at listening, but they need to stop these decisions that are coming out without the listening. And that's what we're seeing of a lot more of lately. And that's what we're just asking to not happen as much lately. We're not saying, hey, how dare you ever look for ways of maximizing profit. That's not what anyone's saying. We're just saying, please include partners in the conversation, because you always have, and that's your culture. And don't forget where you came from.
Yeah, Twitch became one of the few sites where people just went to twitch.tv instead of going to a specific place on Twitch TV. That was the difference between Twitch and every other one of these sites. I ran an MLG TV stream because they were sponsoring a tournament that I was doing for about a year, and noticing the difference between how hard it was to drive people to that stream versus my Twitch stream, where people would show up organically. They just, I just started streaming in the middle of the night with literally no announcement. There'd be people there. That would never happen on any other site, because I go to Twitch to find something to watch. I go to YouTube to find something to watch. Those are some of the rare sites that are able to do that. That's how a site really starts to snowball, when you get people going there and they don't know what they're going to watch. But they're like, I want to watch something on here, so let's go to the front page, let's discover somebody, let's find someone that's playing a game I care about. It's like, I'm playing this game right now, so I also want someone on in the background who happens to be playing that game, maybe I can get some tips. Or it's also nice to feel like you're playing a game that someone else is playing, and, you kind of almost competing with them. In a sense, it's like laughing at them failing, or, relating to them failing because you did the exact same thing. There's something special about that for some reason wasn't really replicated on any other sites. And YouTube competes to some extent. There's some surprisingly popular YouTube gaming streams, but they're hard to find. Yeah. It's like the only reason
the streaming part of YouTube is like,
it's like the streams sometimes show up about when they've got that infinitely scrolling front page. You scroll down about 5 or 6 pages on that, it starts to pop a few random gaming streams. And they seem random. They really do, because like, oh, it's someone playing Fortnite with 3 viewers. And then there's a guy playing PUBG who has 20,000, and they're just there next to each other for no apparent reason, just in the mix, you know? And I think the only reason that YouTube does okay for streaming is because you've got that channel and that subscription model where people are subbed to the channel, so they know when you go live and they're watching it that way. And I have to admit, I was tempted for a long time to stream on YouTube because of how many YouTube subs I have. I'm like, wow, can I convert that? Not just posting a video saying, hey, I'm live on Twitch. What if I was actually just live on YouTube? How many viewers would I get? I was always curious about that, but I never pulled the trigger on it. There's a reason for that. It's called Twitch subs.
It's really fascinating to see. I always wind up doing this, and I don't do this from like a mean-spirited place, but like when I see a much bigger YouTuber say like, oh, I'm gonna stream on Twitch, I always go to see how many people they're able to pull over, because being successful on YouTube does not equal being successful on Twitch, and it's fascinating.
I mean, I think it doesn't necessarily equal that, but I found it to be very beneficial.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely.
I think it's worked very well for me anyway. I'm not saying
I think Dodger's coming at it at perspective of movie star to theater star. Like somewhat like Twitch is, and maybe I'm wrong in what I'm hearing you say, but like on YouTube, you can cut and you can edit, you can change, and you can go back in. And if you fuck something up, you can fix it. And on Twitch, it's a live performance. You're entertaining, and there's nothing you can do if you goof or screw up or you make a mistake, and you have to learn to like go with the punches. And even though I still do YouTube, I think the experience of Twitch, and when I do Twitch stuff and I'm doing it more and more, it gives you that vibe of like when you're done, especially if you've done theater before, you're like, oh fuck, I am spent. But like, I feel like if you don't feel that way when you're done, you're doing it wrong. You're doing it wrong.
Yeah.
Because you're there to entertain.
Tap you out. Yeah.
Work for that fucking money is what I'm saying. Like it's and I truly feel like that's the difference is you can say to people, yes, I'm a big YouTuber and I'm going to Twitch, but like if you aren't a good live entertainer, you won't cut it. It doesn't matter how popular you are on YouTube. It's just fact.
You need formats that'll work.
I definitely fully acknowledge that I started with a wonderful base of people that came over from YouTube, and that gave me a leg up on Twitch for sure. I'm not even about to say that that's not true.
Yeah.
But there's such a big difference in the way you have to approach the content. And I don't think people necessarily think that that's going to be the case until they're doing it, you know?
Yeah, you're totally right. And it does take some practice, certainly. And some people have gone entirely over to Twitch. I mean, Strippin had a successful YouTube channel. He abandoned it completely in favor of Twitch.
You know, but it goes both ways, because especially in the last couple of months, I've seen a departure of Twitch streamers saying, even some that have been around for many years, saying that they want to go to YouTube or they want to go to Mixer, even Facebook. I know one person who went to Facebook gaming, so.
And that's truthfully, that's what there's a lot of friends that I have who have done YouTube or who have streamed, and they are like, yo, let me tell you about this Facebook shit though. Like it is on the low incredible. And so I'm all for competition and stuff like that.
We need that. Yeah.
It's a good business situation, a good business environment for I'm not a content creator, but for all of my friends and my partner who's our content creators, and this is our livelihood. This is what we make money on. So it's a wonderful thing when there's a lot of competition. Yeah. Having said that,
yeah,
those bitches ain't shit.
Having said that, it is also, and I'm not sure if I've seen anybody else actually say this publicly. It is in our best interest, if we are primarily on Twitch, to see Twitch continue to be the main beast in the pen.
Yeah,
like
for sure.
Yes, okay, it's great to have competition, but it's also going to be largely beneficial for us if Twitch continues to be, the king of the pride and bring in more viewers that can share around, and because they love the culture and the community. And that's what makes them go, you know what, I don't really know what I want to watch. I'm just going to go browse Twitch and find something, rather than going and looking at Facebook, rather than going and looking at YouTube, rather than going and browsing Mixer. Like, that is the key difference. So it is, when I go out on my big rants, when I get all my assassin done before I've had my second latte of the day, and it sounds like I'm hating on Twitch, no. And it's probably the same for everybody else that has been teeing off lately. It is because we love it, and it's a part of our life, it's a part of our core, but beyond that, it's still in our best interest if this site continues to be a success.
For them to talk to us and listen.
Love.
Yeah.
It's also best for them to not do things that might cause me to lose subscribers. Like, that would be nice.
Yeah, that was the first time I ever lost it at Twitch publicly, was the breaking of the subs. Now,
I don't know how many I lost from that, but I thought there was a pretty big dent. I know Sam took
a ton.
It's hard to know. It's hard to know how many we lost as a result of that or because of something else. But I think I took a hit. I took a pretty big hit.
Well, there's literally only one channel on Twitch right now that has not said that they've lost subs, at least from all the ones that I've been speaking to, and that's Ninja. And that's an anomaly. He's in his own world.
Well, Jesse would be the second one, because I don't think it's possible for him to lose subs with this model.
Fair enough. That's true.
Yeah, that's true. But the breaking subs thing, what a lot of people don't know is that it started back in December. It started December, like early December.
That explains a lot.
A girl, and actually there was, she was so lovely. She screenshotted the email that she received. But a lovely lady named Golly Miss Molly, she tweeted me saying, here, I'm just sending it to you so you can see in reference, TB.
Gotcha.
She said that the subscription that she has to her husband's channel was randomly canceled, and that in order to fix it, Twitch had given her a free month sub, which is lovely. That's good service, good customer support there, guys. But the email is worded pretty much the same as the one that I also received last week when I said that 4 out of my 10 subs were canceled. So I'm on a 40% failure rate for all the subscriptions I have across the site.
Right.
And even with me being a regular user, I did not know these were broken until I went, wait a second, I wonder if I've been hit.
Yeah.
And I would not have actually thought that. So guess what? I'm sitting there, in Chris's channel, and I'm watching him play Surviving Mars, something, and I go to use Dan's gaming emotes, and they're not working. I'm like, oh, did he delete cringe? Because if he did, I'm gonna have words with him. And it turns out, so I go to my subscription page and whatever, and it turns out I've been unsubbed. And then I'm scrolling through, and I'm like, wait a second. I definitely had more subs than this. I had to go to a different tab of payment history in order to manually scroll through and see, wait a second, did that not renew? Was this one did I pay 3 months in advance for this one? I'm not sure. And I had to figure it out myself. And then I sent an email to partners, to purchase support. So, I mean, if it was a lot of figuring that out and like having to, decipher what I had missed out on, I can only imagine that even with them catching the bugs that caused these and repairing the bugs and sending out the emails, there could still be God knows how many actually broken subs. And moreover, I received 2 emails on the day that they fixed it. One said, no action required. We have repaired this for you. Here's the full explanation of everything. We're very sorry. That's lovely. Second email I received, action required in big capital letters. You must click this to reactivate your subscription. So, and it was for all 4 of them. Well, for the 3 that I had not manually redone because I couldn't wait on Dan's Gaming. I had to click it and refresh it.
Of course, naturally.
So,
That's important.
But that's the thing. Like, okay, well, if it's, I don't know now, do I have to take action for this to work? Do I not take action? Like, what is everybody else seeing? So it's such a labyrinth that this could be thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands. We don't know. And maybe that's why everybody's sub count is down. But also maybe it's not.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah, because of course you don't know where the subs went. You know, you don't know if they just left because you missed a week or you had a bad show or whatever, or you have no idea. It's all I know is that my sub count's down, and so are a lot of other people's. So that's there's nothing worse than, you know, when we talk about Twitch communication, they didn't do a great job communicating on that, and we are relying on them for our livelihood. You know, this is pretty important,
right? And that's the case with everything. If you don't come out and immediately explain things, you allow people to come in with crazy conspiracy shit.
Fill the gaps,
things like fill in the gaps. And now not true information is out there and is propagated because it sounds true, or is like, at least this isn't an explanation. And that's how shit gets worse for you. And so talk to people, talk to people constantly.
Communicate.
Especially when
Twitch,
it's about
please.
their income.
Yes, especially.
There's a reason why everybody was upset. It's their livelihood.
Yeah.
Like,
no kidding.
And I mean, the thing is that there was also a tweet about that. There was a series of tweets about that from the Twitch support account addressing broken subs. And I'm fairly confident as a user that it's repaired now, because I've not seen anyone else complain about a freshly broken sub, but at the same time, I don't know. But the way that they've worded the tweets was very much just, the issue has been fixed. We found the problem, and that's all well and good. But I would have liked to know that back in December when the issues first started being talked about. I would have liked to have known about it in January when the issue occurred. And even in early February. And we didn't really start to see the addressing of the issue publicly, at least. They might have been dealing with it behind the scenes, but we didn't see any public communication with it until only recently. So again, it's just the issue of, please talk to us and do so in a timely fashion. Then you don't have anyone panicking or stressing or shitting on you on Twitter like I do. You know, you don't get all that.
I think this goes back to the idea of community versus corporation. And on a corporate side of things, the more you tell, the worse it is for you, right? Like if you're a corporation, you don't want to tell a lot of stuff, because the more you say, the more it screws you over, because now you're admitting to all sorts of things. Like, oh, we had all these problems, and people are like, what's going on over there? And so lawyers are like, be quiet, don't say anything. But community-wise, if you are trying to foster that community that you had from the beginning, and that's what like keeps this shit going and keeps people involved and wanting to keep coming back, you gotta talk. You have to. And so Twitch's next few years are going to be about finding that balance between the two.
Yes.
We'll see if they manage to keep it up, because someone else otherwise may end up taking the crown. Right. We have got 8 minutes left, so we're going to be overrunning, and we're going to do releases. We'll try and find you something in here that doesn't suck. As usual, no goddamn guarantees on that one. There's a lot of stuff coming out on Steam this week. Most of it is, as usual, completely awful. So just be aware of that. It's not our fault.
It's comically bad. Like, I actually have never seen so many games in a list for just 1 week of releases ever. And some of these titles,
this is every week for us. This is every fucking week. It's actually insane. But most people, and that's good because they should never have to see it, don't know that Steam is releasing hundreds of terrible games every week because they never have a reason to see them. Let's hopefully keep it that way. And in the meantime, we will try and filter through and find you something good. So, Dodger, I think you had a start here. Something that looked pretty good.
Yeah, Beast Quest. I don't know. It looks. It actually kind of reminded me of Fable.
Yeah, I don't know where this came from, but it actually does look like a full-sized RPG. It's certainly priced like one.
Yeah. So I'm curious to see what that's like.
Apparently it's based on a book series. It wouldn't be the first game. Well, actually, it would be the first game on the list. That's the whole point. It wouldn't be the only game on the list that is based on a book today.
Right.
But yeah, you're right. This actually does not look too shabby. I don't know anything about Beast Quest, but I'd look at it just as an action RPG. You're right. It does give that Fable vibe, so I'm intrigued. That's fair. I'm also kind of intrigued by this. Oh, God, yeah. It's someone fucking made a game called They Are Hundreds.
Yeah,
it's-
that was one of the
No,
ones I was
come
laughing
on.
about.
Oh god, yeah. It's
It's
just
first person though, so it's
yeah.
different.
Oh, it's
quote
well, it's
unquote.
total shit. It's a bunch of assets just ripped off the Unity store, and you just shooting zombies. That's all it is. But fuck me, just the audacity of that. You've kind of
I'm
got to
sorry,
give.
some of the names. Are just, oh yeah,
You
that
got to
was
give him a
funny.
bit of respect for that. We've got the Devil May Cry HD collection out today. That's out on consoles and on PC. By the looks of it, it's Devil May Cry 1, 2, and 3.
Great. Those are good games.
They were, I mean, 2 wasn't great, but 1 and 3 are fantastic. As I don't know what the ports are like, though. I'm very curious as to what they've done with the ports, because I've played a version of Devil May Cry 3 on PC before, and it was fucking horrible. It was really, really bad. So I'm hoping that this version is a lot better. They're claiming everything's 60 frames, everything's smooth, everything works great. If that's the case, cool. I'll definitely play some more DMC up until I hit those fucking time jumping puzzles, and then I'll quit again. Just like last time. Fucking arsehole platforming bits. Why would you put that in a game which is mostly about stabbing and shooting people? It's a waste of time, I say, a waste. There's something that intrigued me today that I saw the launch trailer for that I am very curious about. It's called Council.
I'm ready for this. This is a game I've been following for a while. I'm excited.
Yeah, this is the one that's by the people who make all of the Sherlock Holmes games.
Yep, Big Bad Wolf is the name of the developer, being published by Focus, and it's an episodic narrative adventure. And I mean, that sounds like a Telltale game. It does, but one, it looks a shit ton better, and secondly, they are very much emphasizing the whole every single fucking thing you do is actually going to matter in some real way. Like, right from the start. As to whether or not they can pull that off, don't know. We've seen that promise before. But it looks pretty fucking cool, and it also has RPG elements and stuff in it, so it's not just a talk and occasional QTE thing. It's got a bit more to it than that.
I also
Also,
really love the aesthetic because
Oh, it looks gorgeous.
obviously, anyone who's seen my Twitter account knows that I am a huge fan of the 18th century aesthetic. But yeah, the fact that it says it's set in 1793 secret society. I like the setting is just pulling me in.
Yeah.
I really like
It's
this.
like all the world leaders are there, and you have to like interact with them. I think that's awesome. The history nerd in me is very excited.
Yeah, I'm gonna check it
that's
out.
right too. Your history as well.
Because
I don't know
I like these kind of games, the episodic narrative choice-based game, but the problem is the people that have been doing it have been Telltale, and the way they do it, I'm not a fan of. And there's very few other companies that tried it. Some of them did, and they were kind of cool, but then they never finished the games because they ran out of money or whatever. But this looks intriguing. Yeah, I wanna see what's going on with it. So yeah, that's the Council. That's the first episode of it. The Mad Ones is out today. The whole season is $30. It doesn't look like you can buy episode 1 separately, which is a bit of a shame.
Yeah,
I'd definitely like to
I
see
bought the
that.
whole thing.
Yeah. I'm not so keen on buying it all in advance. I wish they would sell the episode on its own, but they haven't done that. All right, Jesse, you've got one here, the 25th Ward.
Yeah, so this is actually a sequel to a game called The Silver Case. The Silver Case, just to give you, that is also out. I don't know why it's not on this list, but I imagine because it comes with it, maybe, question mark? I don't know. But I know that it's out as well. Silver Case is an old school, like 2000 or 1999 game. Like, we're
It's
talking
Grasshopper,
18
Suda
years
51.
ago. And it is, it's a game that is about contemporary Japan, sort of like a not realish Japan, where there are 24 wards, and this is Silver Case. There are 24 wards, and it's a point and click adventure visual novel question answer style game where you're trying to solve a murder mystery, and there's a violent serial killer on the loose. It's very cool. It is super awesome. The sequel, the 25th Ward, that's the explanation for all the wards. The 25th Ward is sort of this follow-up game that came along much later, I think like 2007, question mark. But that is out as well. And I think that if you're down for like some mystery and some super cool like old school point and click adventuring, this is where it's at. I think it's also on PS4 as well, this list says. So
yeah, I think so.
That's cool. I remember playing that back in the day. So like this is dope. This is one of those games that like if you're down for some real hunting down killers, this is the one.
And a bit of weirdness because Suda51's involved in it, so you know it's not going to be normal.
Very weird.
That's about it for today, with the exception of just a couple of things. One, Tesla vs. Lovecraft has made its way to PS4. That's kind of fun. And Dodger, I believe you noticed the Redwall game.
I added this on, because it wasn't on the list and I was offended.
And that came out today, didn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, it's called Ghost of a Tale, and you play as a mouse, and it looks great.
Yeah, it looks cool.
If you know anything about the Redwall books, it's a series of books that this game is based on, I believe. And very popular in the UK amongst like young adults and kids. Actually, surprisingly, like grim. You know, basically, it's Game of Thrones with animals, is what Redwall was.
It's been a game that's been in development for a long time.
It's been in early access for a while. Yeah, it's a stealth action game.
2 years ago. Yeah.
And it looks
500 reviews and overwhelmingly positive.
They like
awesome.
it. I mean, Redwall in Europe in particular is hugely popular, and apparently they're working on someone else is working on a Redwall game. I don't know if they got the license or not, but I looked in it looked terrible. This looks great. It looks gorgeous. Like really nicely animated, cool stealth action game. I'm not into Redwall. I know my brother fucking loved that when we were younger. And apparently so do a lot of other people. So yeah, have a look at Ghost of a Tale if you have any interest in Redwall or any interest in stealth action or maybe both.
Yeah.
So some good shit going on there. All right, moving on. I put this in here because I'm sorry.
I like how you were shocked by your own choice. You're like, oh.
I didn't realize like how terrible. It amused me. Sometimes games pop up on this list that just I laugh at. This is one of them. China versus Roman. This is a war strategy game with the mouse control.
Can I tell you, when we were going through this earlier, while you were setting up the stream, I looked at this as well, and I realized these are all assets from the old Super Nintendo game, Knights of the Round.
Yep, they're all stolen. All of the assets are fucking stolen. I was like, what the fuck is with this art style? I'm like, yeah, that looks really familiar, doesn't it? So a bunch of stolen art. In the description, the first thing they've done for some reason is give you the guy's email address and their QQ, which I think is a Chinese instant messenger client.
Right.
And the description was, this is a strategy game with the mouse control. Enter the game, click on the arrow. Click on the card, and then click on the ground. People will appear. Click on food, increased energy. Use energy, create soldiers. Take a long time, finally put the game. Feel relieved.
He put his email or whatever there because this is just to get a date. This guy,
I don't know.
He's thinking, like, when they see my game, they'll go out with me.
It's quite incredible. China is providing some very interesting things to Steam as of late, I must say. Jesse, you have what I presume is a real game by the looks of it.
Yeah, it's a game called The Long Reach. It is a game that reminds me very much of a similar-looking title called Uncanny Valley. Basically, it is a side-scrolling horror game. This one, unlike Uncanny Valley, which was about sort of ghosts and what was real and what wasn't, this is using the exact same, like, what's real, what's happening, except in a more Cthulhu-like style where people just go crazy. Where you're like, everyone in the world's going insane, and it's sort of a cool side-scrolling version of horror. And I love stuff like that. I love when people can make horror that's a little bit different.
Totally.
Moving on to March the 15th, Dodger Soul 705.
Yeah, it's like a 90s themed point and click. I'm a sucker for point and clicks, and
that's some
like
serious detail on these. I like the aesthetic a lot.
Yeah,
it's giving me a little bit of LucasArts kind of vibe, but a bit more up to date.
Same,
which is good.
Sure.
You know, that's a good vibe to have for a point and click. A very good one.
Yeah.
Look, also, there was a member of Kiss in the background for some reason. I don't know why, but it was there. So that's a thing. Jesse, visual out.
Yo, this is a platformer where you play inside of a dying computer.
Yeah.
So it is a game where, as you try to do the platform, jumping and all this stuff, the world around you is like deteriorating.
Yeah.
I think it's fascinating. I love the aesthetic. I think this has the potential to be really, really cool. I definitely will check it out. I saw this and was like, oh shit.
Yeah,
You know me. I love when the game itself gets weird, I'm already in.
You like the meta, and it looks like this game has quite a lot of that.
Yeah, I love that
nice.
stuff.
Yeah, surprisingly cool. On March the 15th, big release, of course, for those on PC, Surviving Mars. If you're looking for it's a city builder and a survival game, and it seems like as to which of those you're going to experience is probably down to how hard you crank the difficulty. Supposedly there's a guy, I came across a YouTube video where he's like, I'm playing Survival Mars at 459% difficulty. So I'm like, oh, okay, apparently you can go pretty ham on that.
Yeah.
Which, that it would actually, if that's how it is, then that's, in my eyes, pretty cool. Because you're appealing to two potentially separate audiences there. Like the guys who are big into kind of Rimworld, or the guys that just want a more casual city builder. You get both, by the looks of it, in the box, depending on what options you pick. And of course, with modding, there's going to be a shit ton of potential there. And the modding is available from day one. There's actually going to be mods out on day one for this game.
Yeah,
so
I'm going to totally exploit this moment and just say if someone could add a mod to allow for terraforming, because I don't think I've seen that be a possibility in the game yet. So if you could just like make that part.
just help a girl out.
I have no idea. I've definitely not got to the point where I could terraform anything. I'll tell you that for a fact. But I also haven't got to the point where I've really been threatened by anything. So I'm obviously not that far in. The other game I wanted to highlight, just for comedy's sake, is Super Inefficient Golf.
Okay.
So it is by far the least efficient golf game that exists because you use exploding landmines to guide the ball. And you've got to place them on your ball and trigger them at the right time. It's almost like if you played Just Cause 3 and attached the explosive boosters to things, it's that, but in a golf game.
What the fuck?
Well, it's like a ping pong machine. What do you call those? Pinball.
Yeah, there's a bit of pinball in there. It reminds me a little bit of Rock of Ages because there's a bit of destruction in there as well. So it's sort of mini golf, pinball, and bowling, and physics exploding. One way or the other, it looks like it could be quite a lot of fun.
Is it co-op?
It is not co-op.
Boo.
It looks like it is a single-player only game.
Yeah.
So if you're looking for your co-op, you're going to have to play Rock of Ages 2, which you really should be doing anyway, so I think it's okay. If that's just an excuse to get more people to play Rock of Ages 2, as they should be doing, then I think that's fine.
Yeah, totally.
There is one other thing that I did highlight, which is... This has actually been out on GOG for ages, because they've got the whole series of these, but they're frequently overlooked when people say, oh, there's no games of pirates in them. There was a whole series of Sea Dogs games, and some of them were quite good. This one is a bit of an older one, because it's from 2006. It's called Caribbean Tales. And some of the Sea Dogs games are worth looking at, because there's actually quite an active big modding scene for them, and they have a fairly active community of people that really like them. So if you're looking for a pirate game, maybe don't get this one, but go on GOG and look up the other Sea Dogs games. There might be something on there that takes your fancy. So that's worth a look. Outside of that, not much going on that day. March the 16th. The only thing I noticed was that the remastered version of Burnout Paradise is coming out on PS4 and Xbox One on March the 16th. We heard about that a couple of weeks ago, that they were going to do that. I'm not sure if it's coming to PC or not. I don't think so. I think they're just leaving it with the version we already had, which is fine, because that was good enough anyway. But also, if you have a Switch, Kirby Star Allies is coming out on March the 16th as well. So keep an eye out for that. There's also they're releasing a starter edition of Splatoon 2. I don't know what that entails. I guess it's a trial version of some sort, maybe a cheaper version.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. It's on the release list. Apparently, there's going to be some kind of starter edition for Splatoon 2. So there you go. And I think that's basically it. We couldn't find anything else on the list that looked remotely interesting, I'm afraid, as much as I'd like to say otherwise.
I'll be playing Surviving Mars.
Yeah, I think quite a few people will be. I think that's a fair pick, frankly. I do want to check out the Council, and I'll see how good Devil May Cry HD is. Haven't played Devil May Cry in a long time.
Your Dark Soul with light.
Something,
Best
flock
line
off,
in a video game.
flock
Something,
off
something,
Featherface
something
and so
with
forth.
With light.
Yeah, I should play the first one just to enjoy, quote unquote, the voice acting again. God
Yeah.
damn.
Some of the best.
There are some lines in that game. I know a lot of them got slipped into Bayonetta and Bayonetta 2, and the people that hadn't played Devil May Cry are like, what the fuck is this talking about? It's like, why is she saying flock off to the birds, like the bird angels? I'm like, yeah, it's a flock off Featherface reference. God.
Great game. Devil May Cry.
Yeah, Devil May Cry. Second one, not so much unless you're really into emo Dante. And there's a lot of emo Dante in Devil May Cry 2.
He was super emo.
He was very, very upset. He became not fun at all. So just bear that in mind.
By the time 4 came around, it was like, I don't know what's happening right now.
Yep. Well, there you go. Cool. There's your releases for this week. Not a huge amount. You can save a little bit of money by not having to buy games this week. So there you go. And that brings us to the end of our show. The last thing to do would be to ask what is going to be going on over the next few weeks with our panel here. Jesse, what you got going on?
Yo, oh my goodness. Well, I'm back. So, streaming tomorrow and Thursday and Friday as per usual. And more stuff on the channel. Scary Game Squad's coming. And Dodger and I just played the end of the last bonus chapter of Life is Strange with Max and Chloe, our 2 little girls. And yeah, more silly stuff to come. I think, look, I'm going to, even though Dodger says it is worse than killing children, I'm going to play more Chuchel. So that'll probably happen this week.
Identical to what I said earlier on.
That's exactly what you said. No exaggeration.
Not at all.
I heard
taken
it.
out of
I heard
context or anything.
I'll back him up on this. Dodger, what do you got coming up?
I'm just streaming. I've been doing some home streams, so there's been lots of kitties in the background, but I'm going to be moving back into the office. But stream schedule should be as normal, I believe. And check out my coffee company, DodgerCoffeeCo.com, and be excellent and party on, dude.
Damn.
I drink out of a Dodger coffee mug, but I put Starbucks in it.
Why?
They burn their coffee. I worked there for 4 years. I know what I'm
You don't
talking
understand.
about.
I don't
Red Bell
like coffee. I don't drink coffee. I drink Starbucks. Actually, also Caribou. I recently got a bottle of Caribou iced coffee, and that was good too.
Nice.
Oh,
Yeah.
I do like ice
That's
coffee.
actually quite
Okay.
nice.
We
Yeah,
can
I don't
still
drink
talk. I
coffee.
won't.
I drink milkshakes, basically, with caffeine in them. That's what they are. I have no fucking taste. I can't handle any kind of real coffee. I'll happily admit that, but I will drink it out of your mug just because,
Thanks.
Aw.
I don't know, it's
Thanks, buddy.
yeah, it's just for the sake of it. Sort of a side swipe of support, I suppose. And Shannon, thank you very much for coming on the show today. Very much appreciated. I know you do not produce your own content at the moment, but I do know that Sacriel, the person you manage and who could not possibly get anything done without you, does. So what's he doing over the next couple of weeks?
He's full on in Surviving Mars, actually. So I
Yeah.
think he's going to be splitting his time between that, and then the other half is like he can never decide between Fortnite or PUBG. So every day is like an internal struggle for his reality and his identity. He just doesn't know who he is anymore.
So in other
Yeah.
words, Epic Games need to throw more money at them before they decide.
Hey, yeah, could that happen?
I think they've exhausted their marketing budget recently for a while.
Yeah.
They've stopped sending me emails asking me to make videos on it and stream it. So I guess they're probably out of money now. I probably should have taken it while I had the chance, really, shouldn't I? Oh, well, never mind.
I will say this though, I don't stream or make content, but I do have a blog that I post on occasionally, and I am
Cool.
getting back into it now that I've finally gotten my UK visa stuff sorted.
Well done. I'm glad you finally got that
people
shit
who do
sorted.
that-
Visas are a fucking nightmare.
Yes, they freaking are. Oh my goodness. That is also why I've been extra testy on Twitter for the last
Yep.
because of the VK, the home
I
office.
can entirely
Yeah.
understand that.
Yeah, but I am sane. I've managed to come through it in one piece, and yeah, so I'm going to get back to writing on my blog, which covers lots of random topics. The last topic I covered was my keto approach to
Yeah.
keto lifestyle. So yeah,
Cool. And
Oh,
where can they find that?
right. I was gonna ShannonPlant.com. So it's my weird name.
ShannonPlant.com.
Yeah, with an E at the end.
With an
It's
E.
The French weird. Yeah. It's
Yep.
Strange. I know. Fine.
Also, your Twitter has been on the screen for the last 3 hours, so they can go and follow that if they wish
yes,
to.
that is where I'm active most.
Yes,
And
if
I'm
you wish to
also
hear
super-
outbursts about Twitch every once in a while, it's a good place to follow.
That. But I also really do like to answer any questions I can, because I know that I can have a bit more insight than the average person. So, and that's the only use I really have to anyone. So I'm happy to share it anytime anyone from any level of channel growth has any questions. Please, if you can't get an answer anywhere else, feel free to hit me up.
There you go. Cool. And I'd love to say that I'm actually doing things this week, but probably not. So we'll just not bother mentioning that. I'll mostly be complaining about my back pain is probably what's going to be happening. That'll be about it. So yes, if you find that boring, I do occasionally also retweet Pomeranians and Chow Chow dogs. So I'm just saying there's quite a lot of that there. So, you could follow for that reason instead. That would be okay too. I wouldn't be averse to that. That's fine. It gives me a chance to catch up on some audiobooks. Thank you very much to our sponsor today, Audible. Head to audible.com/cynical to pick up your free audiobook. Or if you happen to be in the United States, you can. If it's more convenient to you, just simply text cynical to 500-500. And that will get you started nice and quick. And there's plenty of content there to pursue. And you can even listen to terrible books that people would probably look down on you for, because that's a wonderful thing about audiobooks. You can stick in a pair of headphones and nobody knows you're listening to absolute drivel. It's great. I was going to say, the invention of e-readers and the invention, the popularization of audiobooks has done wonders for those of us that have no taste in books and literature. It's wonderful. You will never get judged again. It's fantastic. So you go listen to whatever the hell you want, frankly. We're about done. Thank you very much for watching the Co-optional Podcast. We'll be back the same time next week, which, as a reminder, daylight savings time will still be there. I don't believe the rest of the world changes for another couple of weeks.
Yeah.
3 weeks.
Yeah, which means that we've got 3 weeks of people showing up saying, am I late? Why is the show an hour early? Etc., etc. We'll be sticking to the US time. So that means those of you in Europe and in other parts of the world, we are an hour earlier than usual on our live broadcast. If you happen to miss any of the show and you're a subscriber, the VOD is available right now for you to check out. If you're not, it will be up on Thursday on youtube.com/cynicalbrit. We're about done. Thank you very much for watching the Co-optional Podcast, ladies and gentlemen, and we will see you next time. Goodbye.